Welcome to the fantasy audiobook, Man in Pirates, the beginning of the interception of the surgery fruit. Chapter 21. The East Sea seems to be no different from the North Sea. On the sea, Lin En rode the amphibious tricycle transformed by Baby 5 and sped across the sea. Originally, the Mark armor would be faster, but now the Mark armor has become the most popular weapon on the sea, and Lin En doesn't want to attract too much attention now. Lin En, are we really going to Shimotsky village? What good swordsmanship teacher can there be in the East Sea? If you really want to learn swordsmanship, you might as well let Mr. Cube Diamante teach you. The voice of Baby 5 came from the amphibious tricycle under Lin En's crotch. Baby 5 has also been transformed by Lin En's bloodline factor, and her physique has been strengthened by an unknown amount. Before, only part of Baby 5's body could be transformed into a weapon, but now, except for the head, the rest of Baby 5's body has completely turned into a mechanical motorcycle. You don't understand. The Isshin Dojo in Shimotsky village is not a simple place. The image of Koshiro, who was wearing glasses and had squinty eyes, appeared in Lin En's mind. That person was Zoro's teacher. Although there was no picture of him taking action directly, it was speculated that he was a master of swordsmanship. After Lin En ate the operation fruit, he needed a sword to complete tasks such as cutting. Lin En felt that he needed to learn swordsmanship. Among the swordsmen in this world, Koshiro Shimotsky was the easiest place to learn the secrets of swordsmanship. In addition to learning swordsmanship, Lin En had another purpose, to recruit Kuina. Kuina is not dead yet. As long as Lin En goes there in time, he should be able to reverse Kuina's fate of death. Kuina is a girl with great talent in swordsmanship. Even adults are not her opponents. But Koshiro always believed that the female swordsman was restricted by her physique and could not become a top swordsman. Lin En mastered the bloodline factor transformation technology. If he could make Kuina's physique stronger, then perhaps Kuina's future achievements would surpass Zoro. Lin En was also curious about how high Kuina would go in the end. The East China Sea map that Judge gave Lin En was very detailed, and even an outsider like Lin En could understand it. Accompanied by the waves of the motorcycle, Lin En headed straight for Shimotsky village. That's it, Baby 5. Lin En looked at the island in front of him and compared the surroundings. Then let's go up. Before Lin En turned the throttle, Baby 5 automatically accelerated and rushed towards the beach. 2 rows of soft wheel marks were left on the soft beach, and Lin En and Baby 5 stopped. When Lin En got off Baby 5, Baby 5's body deformed, and then Baby 5 in a maid outfit appeared in front of Lin En. Monster! Monster! A rustling sound came from the bushes, and a little ghost with a blue face jumped out quickly and ran to the back. His hair was green, and he was wearing green clothes. It was because of this protective color that Lin En didn't find him. Wait, green hair. Lin En looked at the kid's waist, and sure enough, there were 3 bamboo swords on the kid's waist. This kid was indeed Zoro, and his green hair was so recognizable. Zoro! Lin En shouted at Zoro who was running away. Do you know me? Zoro stopped when he heard Lin En calling his name. Of course, second in Isshin Dojo, of course I've heard of it. Lin En smiled at Zoro. I'm number one. That Kuina guy, I'll beat her sooner or later. Zoro came back aggressively, and when he mentioned this, he even forgot to be afraid. Why are you running? Haven't you seen a devil fruit ability user? Baby 5 looked at Zoro who was returning, and there was some surprise in her tone. Although the East China Sea is known as the weakest sea, isn't it a bit too exaggerated that they have never seen a devil fruit? Devil fruit, what is that, food? Zoro scratched his head, looking like he had never heard of it before. Seeing this, Baby 5 showed an expression of disbelief on her face, and she finally understood why the East China Sea is called the weakest sea. The law and order in the East China Sea is so good that young people like Zoro have never heard of devil fruits. I am a weapon man who ate the weapon fruit. In addition to being able to transform into the tricycle just now, I can also transform into other weapons. In order to show her ability to the bumpkin Zoro, Baby 5 transformed into many kinds of weapons such as swords, guns and cannons. What a cool ability. If I had such an ability, I wouldn't need to carry it every day. Sword. Zoro's eyes flashed with little stars, and he was already imagining the scene of his hands turning into 2 swords and killing everyone. Zoro, I want to worship Koshiro as my master. Can you take us to Isshin Dojo? Lin-En saw that Zoro had let down his guard against them, so he said to Zoro. I am a student of Isshin Dojo, let me take you there. I go to Isshin Dojo 4 or 5 times a day, and I am very familiar with the road to Isshin Dojo. Zoro said to Lin-En enthusiastically while walking in front. Hearing Zoro say that he was familiar with the road, Lin-En looked at the 2 forks in front of him, and he chose the other one without hesitation. Zoro has a serious problem with directions, and Lin-En doesn't want to go around in circles with Zoro in Shimotsuki village. Baby 5 saw that Lin-En chose another fork, and she returned without hesitation and followed Lin-En. Hey, you are going the wrong way, come back quickly. Quote. Zoro shouted at Lin-En and Baby 5. A moment later, a dojo appeared in front of Lin-En and Baby 5. This dojo was the Isshin Dojo they were looking for. Strange, how can that road lead to Isshin Dojo? Zoro's face showed surprise. He didn't realize that he had taken the wrong road. Hey, you almost took the wrong road, didn't you? Baby 5 complained to Zoro. How could I take the wrong road? Don't slander me. Zoro didn't feel that he was wrong at all. He confronted Baby 5. What are you doing here, outsiders? When Zoro and Baby 5 were about to quarrel, a little girl with short black hair walked out of the dojo. Kuina, they are Lin-En and Baby 5. They want to join Isshin Dojo to learn Mr. Koshiro's swordsmanship. Quote. Zoro told Lin-En the purpose of coming here, which was what Lin-En said to Zoro when they were on the beach. Are you here to learn swordsmanship? Kuina looked Lin-En up and down. Although there was no sign of swordsmanship on Lin-En's body, she felt that Lin-En was not simple. The threshold of Koshiro's Isshin Dojo is very low. You only need to pay some baili to enter the dojo to study. The people who study in this dojo are all from the surrounding villages. Seeing the unfamiliar faces of Lin-En and Baby 5, every student became curious. On the second day of entering the Isshin Dojo, Lin-En was met by Koshiro to test his skills. This is something that every student who enters the dojo must go through. Only when Koshiro sees your talent can he arrange teaching according to your actual situation. The first opponent Koshiro arranged for Lin-En was a boy who was about the same age and height as him. The boy had already taken a training wooden sword and was ready. Lin-En did not use the surgery fruit either. He just chopped at the boy with the wooden sword. At the moment of the fight, the boy was knocked away and the wooden sword in his hand also fell out of his hand. This guy has great power. When Zoro saw this scene, his eyes froze. When he came to Isshin Dojo to challenge the gym that year, he relied on brute force to defeat everyone except Kuina. Is this Lin-En going to repeat what he experienced back then? From the way he holds and swings the sword, he seems to be an amateur, but he is so strong. Is this a man's physique? If I had such a physique, I would be a top swordsman. Guina watched Lin-En easily knocking away one boy after another, and a hint of envy flashed in her eyes. Lin-En did not know sword moves, he used extreme strength and speed, and no one could withstand his second sword. Zoro, you go. When he saw that Lin-En could defeat an adult with one sword, he did not continue to let other apprentices test him, he said to Zoro on the side. Zoro's strength ranks second in this dojo, and his body is also beyond ordinary people. Perhaps Zoro can test the limit of Lin-En. Zoro couldn't help it a long time ago. When he heard the teacher Koshiro speak, he drew out the 2 wooden swords from his waist and came to Lin-En. Lin, let's stop here. Today, I, Zoro, will show you the swordsmanship of the strongest disciple of Isshin Dojo. Zoro held 2 wooden swords and smiled strangely at Lin. Zoro, you haven't defeated me yet, how come you have become the strongest disciple? Kuina listened to Zoro's words and asked Zoro. Zoro's body stiffened, and then he pointed the wooden sword in his hand at Kuina. Stop talking nonsense, wait until I defeat Lin and then I will defeat you. Zoro felt very embarrassed when he was exposed while pretending. Come on, Zoro, let me see your strength. Lin smiled at Zoro, and then he made a starting gesture that the apprentices had used just now. Ha, he just took a look at those apprentices, and he has mastered this move to this extent. Seeing Lin make this gesture, Koshiro's squinting eyes opened a little. The starting hand gesture that Lin-En made was not just a posture. His muscles moved as if he had practiced for several years. No way, is Lin En a monster? Kuina also saw this at this time, and her expression became serious. When she first learned kendo, she learned this starting hand gesture for a day, and Zoro learned it for 3 days. Lin En just took a look, and he learned it without anyone explaining it to him. Zoro didn't care about that. After Lin En was ready, he started to slash at Lin En like a beast. Lin En didn't knock Zoro away directly this time. He just used the wooden sword in his hand to easily hit back all of Zoro's attacks. The surgery fruit silently enveloped Zoro. In the surgery fruit, Zoro's body movements and muscle tremors every time he chopped were all visible in front of Lin En. With the help of the surgical space to sense Zoro's movements, Lin En became more and more standard when swinging with the wooden sword. He is using the power of the devil fruit to adjust his physical condition. When Koshiro saw Lin En improving at a speed visible to the naked eye in front of him, his face showed a solemn look for the first time. No wonder Lin En wanted to learn swordsmanship. His devil fruit power greatly increased his swordsmanship practice. In addition to his devil fruit, Lin En himself is also very talented in kendo. Kuina is the most talented person Koshiro has ever seen, but due to her physique, Koshiro feels that she cannot become the strongest. But Lin En is different. He first showed a stronger body than Zoro, and now he has shown a stronger swordsmanship talent than Kuina. Koshiro seemed to have seen the scene of Lin En becoming the world's most powerful swordsman in the future. Zoro, is your swordsmanship only at this level? If it is only at this level, then you are doomed to lose. Lin En and Zoro fought for dozens of moves, and he suddenly asked Zoro. Zoro and Lin En fought after dozens of moves. Lin En found that Zoro had not used any new moves for more than a dozen moves. Stop talking big, come on, let me see how you can defeat me. Zoro raised his double swords and chopped them directly at Lin En. But Lin En just stabbed the intersection of Zoro's double swords with a straight stab, and Zoro was actually knocked back 7 or 8 steps by this blow. After that, Lin En swung the second sword, and Zoro's double swords that rushed up again were knocked away by Lin En. Zoro was disarmed by Lin En after just 2 moves. Back off, Zoro, you have already lost. Seeing that Zoro drew out the last wooden sword and was ready to fight again, Koshiro stopped Zoro. Lin En, I am not in good shape today, and today's duel does not count. Wait for me tomorrow. No, I will challenge you again the day after tomorrow. Zoro did not admit that he was defeated, and he shouted at Lin En unwillingly. Zoro, if you lose, you lose. You really can't afford to lose. BBAY5 made a face at Zoro. Father, it's my turn. Kuina picked up a wooden sword and walked towards Lin En. Seeing that Kuina was going to duel with Lin En, Zoro, who was originally preparing to bicker with Baby 5, looked serious. Kuina's strength has always been the ceiling of the apprentices of Isshin Dojo. If she takes action, she may be able to suppress Lin En. Obviously, Lin En is just a newcomer, but he makes every apprentice feel a mountain of pressure. Go, Kuina, you must defeat this guy. The apprentices of Isshin Dojo cheered for Kuina one after another. Like Zoro, they are also full of confidence in Kuina. The routine of Lin En's battle with Kuina is the same as Zoro's. He first resisted Kuina's attack while observing Kuina's way of exerting force. It must be said that Kuina's movements are much more standard than Zoro's. For the same moves, Kuina can use less force to achieve greater power. While Lin En was fighting with Kuina, he adjusted the moves he had just learned. Koshiro's face became more solemn at this time. He found that Lin En was still adjusting his sword moves during the battle. In a trance, Koshiro felt that these were 2 Kuina fighting. Kuina's ending was no different from Zoro's. When Lin En learned all her moves, he defeated Kuina with just 1 move. The wooden sword in Kuina's hand was knocked away. Looking at the wooden sword that was knocked away, she felt as if her pride was shattered. Father, you were right. A top swordsman does need a good physique. After Kuina finished speaking, she ran out of the village. The crystal tear in the corner of her eye made Koshiro not know what to say. This fact was too much of a blow to Kuina, who had devoted herself to kendo since childhood and aspired to become the world's #1 swordsman, but it was a fact. In terms of swordsmanship, Lin En, who learned Kuina's swordsmanship, was the same as Kuina in this respect. However, Kuina's physique was not as good as Lin En's, which was the reason why she was defeated in one move. Lin En had expected this result. He used his eyes to signal Baby 5, and Baby 5 left. The other sword apprentices congratulated Lin En. Even if they were not convinced, when Lin En defeated Kuina, it showed his strength. What Zoro had not done in nearly 2,000 duels with Kuina, Lin En did it as soon as he arrived. Are you very unwilling? On the beach of Shimotsuki village, Kuina was crying quietly with her head down when she suddenly heard a girl's voice. Kuina looked up and saw that it was Baby 5 who appeared here. Of course I am unwilling. If it weren't for the limitation of physical strength, how could I lose? Kuina's eyes shed tears again. She was in a bad mood now. Is this the feeling of defeat? She was very unwilling, but she couldn't do anything. Is it just a physical limitation? If there is a way to make your physique stronger than a man, do you think you can beat Lin En? Baby 5 suddenly asked Kuina. This assumption that will never happen is meaningless. Kuina just looked up at Baby 5, and she buried her head in her knees again. I am also a woman, what do you think of my physique? Baby 5 said. She actually lifted the huge stone behind Kuina with one hand. Kuina looked at this scene with shock. Even ordinary adults find it difficult to do such a thing, let alone this slender-looking girl in front of her. Baby 5 is 2 years older than Kuina. Baby 5, who is 13 years old this year, is only half a head taller than Kuina. A little girl of 1.6 meters lifted a stone of at least 400 to 500 kilograms. This scene made Kuina feel particularly shocked. Is this also the ability of your weapon fruit? Kuina asked Baby 5. I didn't use the fruit ability, this is pure physical strength. Baby 5 said to Kuina. Seeing Kuina's attention attracted, Baby 5 repeated what Lin En had taught her before. Before, Baby 5 was just an ordinary girl. It was Lin En who performed a bloodline factor transformation operation on her using the ability of the surgery fruit. Now, in addition to having inhuman strength, Baby 5's defense and recovery ability are more than 10 times that of ordinary people. Are you telling the truth? Kuina's eyes became brighter than ever. If everything Baby 5 said was true, then the last shortcoming that restricted her from becoming the top swordsman on the sea would no longer exist. Of course it's true. If you don't believe it, you can ask Lin En to help you complete this operation. Baby 5 smiled. You did a great job on this matter, Baby 5. The task you asked was probably accomplished. When Lin En heard Baby 5 tell him about Kuina, he knew that Kuina had been moved. Lin En had grasped Kuina's weakness, and she would definitely look for Lin En. In the next few days, Kuina and Zoro did not appear in Isshin Dojo. It is said that Zoro was also deeply hit these days, and he was training himself with devilish skills. Kuina did not know what she was doing. She was obviously in Shimotsuki village, but she did not appear in Isshin Dojo. These days became Lin En's personal show. No matter what skills Koshiro taught Lin En could do it with the absolute control of his body with the surgery fruit. Koshiro had never seen a monster like Lin En, and he had nothing to teach Lin En in swordsmanship. After sending all the disciples away, Koshiro taught Lin En a lesson. Lin En told about a realm called Zantai. From the name, this realm requires a swordsman to be able to cut steel with the sword in his hand. Only when he can reach this level can he be considered a real swordsman. Lin En felt that the realm of Zantai might be related to the application of domineering, and this was the first time that Lin En learned the ability without hearing it. Lin En, are you there? At night, Kuina's voice came from outside Lin En's door. When Lin En opened the door, Kuina, who was wearing a white dress, stood in front of Lin En. Kuina had always been wearing kendo training clothes or short sleeves. This was the first time Lin En saw Kuina wearing such feminine clothes. Can you walk with me on the beach? Before Lin En asked, Kuina asked Lin En first. Of course. Lin En smiled at the corner of his mouth. He knew that Kuina must have made a decision. The moonlight is like water, and the sea breeze on the beach today is also particularly gentle. Lin, Baby 5 said that you transformed her body. Is this true? The two walked side by side for a long time, and Kuina finally plucked up the courage to ask Lin. It's not a human body transformation, it's just the application of bloodline factors. Lin said to Kuina. Are there any disadvantages to this bloodline factor transformation? Kuina was still a little worried. How could there be power that was obtained for nothing in this sea? Baby 5 must have paid a great price to obtain that extraordinary body. There are no disadvantages. I did that operation with the ability of the surgery fruit. After the operation, there will be no difference from ordinary people. Lin smiled at Kuina. Surgery fruit ability. Are you also a devil fruit ability user? Kuina's eyes flashed with surprise. This was the first time she heard the term devil fruit. Later, she asked her father Koshiro, and she knew that there were such magical things in this sea. Animal-type devil fruits can enhance a person's physique. Kuina originally planned to get an animal-type devil fruit when she grew up. But she heard from Koshiro that people who become ability users will become landlubbers and will be hated by the sea. Kuina wants to be the best swordsman, and she doesn't allow herself to have such shortcomings. That's why she asked Lin-en those questions. Lin-en, then you help me transform. I also want to have a physique like yours. Kuina was silent for a long time, and she finally told Lin-en the purpose of inviting her. If I want to have a body as strong as BABY5, what price do I need to pay? Kuina asked Lin-en. Although Kuina is young, she never believes that there is no such thing as getting something for nothing. Baby 5 came with Lin-en. They are partners, so Lin-en will perform transformation surgery for her. Kuina and Lin-en don't have such a relationship. She wants to know what price she needs to pay. I need a strong swordsman partner to experience the adventure on the sea with me. Lin-en looked at Kuina and said to Kuina, among the swordsmen on the sea, Kuina is the only one that Lin-en can see. Lin-en, if your strength can match the future world's #1 swordsman, then I am willing to take risks with you. Kuina thought carefully. She smiled at Lin-en. Room. Lin-en directly used the surgical space to cover his and Kuina's figures. Kuina doesn't need the fancy abilities of the Germa royal family, she just needs a physique like Germa. Baby 5's transformation direction is this, and for this kind of transformation, Lin-en can complete it without an operating room. Is it done? An hour later, Kuina looked at her body that was no different from before, and she felt a trance. Just now, Lin-en cut her open, and Kuina thought she would become a monster. Fortunately, there was the surgery fruit. Kuina didn't feel a trace of pain, she just felt some heat in her body, and there was no other abnormality. Kuina tried to push the big stone she was lying on just now, and she felt that the stone began to shake even though she didn't use much force. Obviously, her physique has become stronger. I have completed the operation on you, but it needs to be transformed slowly. About a week later, you will have a body as strong as BABY5. Lin-en looked at Kuina who was constantly pushing the stone, and he said to Kuina. Lin-en, wait for me for a week, and then we'll have another fight. Kuina challenged Lin-en to a fight. Before, she was defeated by Lin-en with one sword, which made Kuina very dissatisfied. Kuina didn't believe that she would lose under the same strong physique. Kuina was confident in the swordsmanship she had practiced since she was a child. She didn't believe that she couldn't beat Lin-en after 10 years of hard training. Okay, let's have another fight then. Lin-en laughed. Kuina's unyielding character can make her go further, but if she targets Lin-en, I'm afraid she will suffer psychological trauma. Lin-en has absolute control over his body through the surgery fruit, which makes him cheat when practicing swordsmanship and physical skills. In addition, the surgery fruit can continuously strengthen his own body, and Lin-en already has the foundation to become a top strong man. I will beat you. In Ishin Dojo, I am the strongest one. Kuina left happily. Lin-en solved the matter she cared about most in just 1 hour, and Kuina felt relieved. The next day, Koshiro discovered Kuina's abnormality during training. Although they hadn't seen each other for a night, Kuina's physique had greatly improved. This made Koshiro feel something was wrong. Kuina, did you eat the animal-type devil fruit? After the students left, Koshiro finally asked Kuina this question while eating. Did you also find that my physique has become stronger, father? Hearing Koshiro's question, Kuina's face suddenly showed a smile. It's not a devil fruit, it's Lin-en who made a small modification to my body. Kuina didn't answer directly, she kept it a secret first. Lin-en, what did he do to you? Hearing that Lin-en had done something to his daughter, Koshiro's eyes opened, and a very scary aura emanated from him. No matter how gentle Koshiro's temper was, he was still a father. Lin En played tricks on his daughter, and even if Lin En had a high kendo talent, Koshiro could not tolerate it. Lin En had already found a way to die. It's not what you think. Lin En is a surgeon who ate the superhuman devil fruit, the surgery fruit. He used the power of the surgery fruit to transform my body into a bloodline factor. Kuina explained to Koshiro. Bloodline factor? What is that? Koshiro had a vague feeling that he had heard of this thing somewhere. I don't know the details. Anyway, my strength, speed, recovery and body healing ability are at least better than the future. 3 times as strong as me who did the surgery. Kuina said to Koshiro. She has secretly tested it these 2 days. Although the data is not so accurate, it is not much different. Kuina, after dinner, let's do a specific test. Koshiro felt that his daughter's words were a bit exaggerated. Even the devil fruit can't have such a big improvement on people. But when he finished the test, he showed a shocked expression on his face. Kuina was a bit conservative. Now her physique has surpassed her 4 times in all aspects. It seems that my physique has become stronger again. This operation is a gradual transformation of my body. It will take 3 days for the effect of this operation to be completed. At that time, I will be in the strongest state. Kuina showed a proud expression on her face. This C actually has such a terrible ability. No wonder the surgery fruit can be sold for 5 billion Baileys according to rumors. Quote. Koshiro thought of a lot at this time. It was rumored that the operation fruit appeared in the North Sea, and the one who ate the operation fruit was a boy, and that boy made the entire North Sea turbulent. Koshiro originally thought that a monster like that would directly enter the Grand Line, but he didn't expect that the boy would actually appear in the East China Sea and learn in his dojo. This time, the news in the newspapers before completed the loop. Father, now I can inherit your swordsmanship and compete for the title of the world's strongest swordsman. Kuina looked at her father and asked her father. It's time to hand over the Wado Ikimonji to you. Although Koshiro didn't say it clearly, this sentence has already shown his attitude. I won't let you down, father. I will make the reputation of our Ishin dojo resound throughout the sea. Kuina promised her father. From tomorrow, I will teach you the skills of cutting iron. Your physique was a little insufficient before, but now you are qualified to learn cutting iron. Quote. Koshiro said to Kuina, Father, are you telling the truth? Kuina was extremely surprised. Is this the iron slashing technique? Looking at the broken boulders in front of him, Lin En's tone was full of emotion. After almost a year in the pirate world, he finally mastered the haki. Originally, Lin En thought that iron slashing technique was to use the armament haki to harden the blade, and then cut the steel after the sword in his hand became extremely hard. I didn't expect that the essence of iron slashing technique was to sense the breadth of all things and find the weaknesses of the things to be cut. For example, when Lin En cut the stone in front of him, he didn't use much force. He just swung the knife lightly, and the boulder broke into 2 halves. This is the real iron slashing technique. No wonder there are swordsmen in this sea, but no axemen or stickmen. It turns out that the reason is here. Swordsmen rely on skills, using the least force to cause the greatest damage, rather than relying on brute force to attack with the sword in their hands. Lin En used the ability of the operation fruit to scan in the operating space. This ability is equivalent to the haki of observation. It is precisely because of this foundation that Lin En understands that cutting iron depends on skills, not brute force. As long as the observation haki is extremely strong, perhaps the sword in hand can cut everything. Maybe it's time to ask teacher Koshiro for more advanced skills. Lin En smiled. Kuina, after a few days of hellish special training, my 3-sword style has been perfected. Are you ready to lose? In the morning, when Kuina finished her morning exercise, she was blocked by Zoro, who had not appeared for a long time. This scene is rare. The apprentices of Ishin Dojo immediately brought small stools and gathered together. Come on, Zoro has challenged Kuina again. Including this time, this should be Zoro's 2000th challenge to Kuina. He is really persistent. Yeah, he hasn't won a single match, but this guy's fighting spirit has not been affected at all. Guess, how many moves can Zoro last against Kuina this time? Zoro can last longer and longer. Last time he lasted more than 50 moves. This time I guess he can last 60 moves. You underestimate Zoro's hellish training. I guess he can last 70 moves. I guess 80 moves. The duel has not started yet, and the apprentices have already started whispering. Zoro, you are not my opponent. I don't want to duel with you. Kuina glanced at the apprentices watching, and she didn't find any trace of Lin En. Not only Lin En, but even Baby 5 was not there. This disappointed Kuina. Until this morning, her bloodline factor transformation had been completed, and now she has become stronger than ever. Kuina still wanted to defeat Lin En in front of the apprentices, but she didn't expect that Lin En hadn't appeared in the past few days. Do you know you will lose, so you are afraid? Zoro provoked Kuina. In that case, then come on. Kuina sighed deeply. She knew Zoro's character. If he was not defeated today, he would not give up. Let me show you the new results of my latest practice of 3 swords. Zoro held a sword in each hand, and he also held a sword in his mouth. The 3 swords attacked Kuina from all corners. Before the apprentices could see what was going on, Kuina nailed the intersection of Zoro's 3 swords with one sword. Zoro's face was flushed, but Kuina, who held the sword with one hand, did not change at all. When did Kuina become so powerful? The apprentices were deeply shocked when they saw this scene. Kuina hit the intersection of Zoro's 3 swords with one sword, which showed her extraordinary swordsmanship ability. But afterwards, it was a physical confrontation. Zoro's strength was only slightly weaker than Kuina's before, so how could Kuina block Zoro with one hand now? Could it be that Zoro's Hell-style special training was too cruel and he trained himself too weak? Cold sweat appeared on Zoro's forehead. He found that no matter how hard he tried, Kuina didn't move at all. It seemed that it was not Kuina who was wrestling with Zoro, but a sea beast. Impossible, how could you become so strong? Zoro shouted. Before, Zoro could see the limit of Kuina's strength, but now he couldn't see where the limit of Zoro's strength was. Kuina's physique at this time was 10 times stronger than her past self, while Zoro had not changed much. It can be said that Kuina can easily defeat 100 Zoro now. Kuina exerted a little force, and Zoro fell backwards involuntarily. Kuina just used defeat Zoro with one move. It seems that not only Zoro has undergone special training, but Kuina has also secretly undergone special training after being defeated by Lin En. No wonder Kuina has not been seen these days. It turns out that she is also secretly training to defeat Lin En. In that case, Lin En has not shown up these days. Is he also undergoing special training? Yes, I saw Lin En swinging his sword at a boulder at the seaside yesterday. He split the boulder in half with one sword. The apprentice who spoke last saw that everyone was looking at him, and he laboriously gestured the outline of the boulder. What did you say? Lin En split the boulder with one sword. Kuina came to the front of the male apprentice and asked the male apprentice again. Yes, I saw it with my own eyes. Lin En just swung his sword lightly and he split the boulder in half. The apprentice confirmed again. That's the realm of cutting iron. I explained the principle of cutting iron to Lin En a few days ago. I didn't expect that he has already mastered it. Koshiro's voice sounded behind Kuina. Teacher Koshiro, what is cutting iron? It sounds very powerful. The apprentices saw that it was Koshiro who came, and they looked at Koshiro with a pair of eyes seeking knowledge. Cutting iron is a skill. Only when you master cutting iron can you be considered a real swordsman. Koshiro said to the apprentices. Lin En has mastered cutting iron. Zoro had also heard Koshiro talk about cutting iron, but he didn't know how to practice it at all. How long has it been since Lin En mastered cutting iron? Don't compare yourself with Lin En. In terms of talent in swordsmanship, Lin En is at the monster level. There are only 5 monsters with such powerful talents in the whole world. Koshiro saw that the apprentices were deeply shocked, and he said to them. Lin En is a representative of talent, and these apprentices have witnessed the horror of monsters. For monsters, ordinary people can only look up to them. If you try to compare yourself with monsters, it will be a very hopeless thing. Kuina is a woman who wants to become the world's strongest swordsman. She has always regarded Lin En as her target. Hearing Lin En's mastery of the iron cutting skill, Kuina ran directly to the beach. She had not been here for 2 days, and the beach had changed a lot. There were twice as many boulders on the beach. The stones were still the same stones, but all of them were split in half from the middle. Kuina carefully stroked the cross-sections of the stones, and she found that the cross-sections were very smooth. These stones are reefs. After years of erosion by the sea, their surfaces are uneven. This smooth cross-section formed a sharp contrast with the surface of the reef. Kuina, Teacher Koshiro, why are you here? Lin-en was about to finish his morning exercise today and go home. He saw Kuina and Koshiro appearing here. Lin-en, did you do all this? Koshiro asked Lin-en. Although the apprentices had witnessed it, Koshiro still found it hard to believe. Lin-en looked at Baby 5, and Baby 5 transformed into a long sword. Lin-en held Baby 5's arm and gently slashed the boulder in front of him, and the boulder was split in two again. Is this Zantetsu? Seeing Lin-en easily split the boulder in two, Kuina's eyes were full of shock. This skill has deviated from traditional swordsmanship. No wonder her father Koshiro said that Zantetsu is the watershed of swordsmen. Kuina originally wanted to compete with Lin-en in swordsmanship, but now it seems that there is no need to compete at all. Lin-en has mastered Zantetsu, and his swordsmanship has surpassed Kuina. It seems that I should teach you armament hockey. Koshiro said to Lin-en. Armament hockey. Father, I also want to learn armament hockey. Kuina's eyes lit up when she heard that Koshiro was going to teach Lin-en armament hockey. She heard from her grandfather Kozaburo that armament hockey can enhance the attack power of a swordsman. But her father always asked her to train her physique and swordsmanship because of her insufficient physical strength, and he never taught Kuina armament hockey. Kuina's physique is now 10 times stronger than before. Now she should have the opportunity to learn armament hockey, right? If it is Kuina now, then it is indeed possible. But Zoro, you are not good enough now. It is too early for you to learn armament hockey. Koshiro still had that smiling look. Teacher Koshiro, I also want to learn armament hockey. Behind a boulder, Zoro jumped out with jealousy. After being defeated by Kuina, he also came to the beach to check the boulders that Lin-en chopped when practicing iron cutting. Originally, he wanted to hear Teacher Koshiro's evaluation of Lin-en, but he didn't expect to hear that Koshiro wanted to teach them both armament hockey. Zoro didn't know what armament hockey was, but from Kuina's surprised eyes, he knew that it was definitely an incredible skill. Koshiro didn't say anything, he still looked at Zoro with a smile. Zoro became dejected, and he slowly walked towards the village. Although Koshiro had a gentle temper, he would not change his mind about things he decided. Koshiro did not show Lin-en and Kuina how to practice armament hockey, he just told Lin-en the principle and practice method of armament hockey. Even so, Kuina did not give up the idea of comparing with Lin-en. Lin-en, I will definitely practice armament hockey before you. When Kuina followed her father back, she turned to Lin-en and said. I'm waiting for that day. Lin-en smiled at Kuina. Lin-en was not worried about this at all. Compared to observation hockey, armament hockey is actually the hockey that Lin-en can practice most easily. Because Lin-en has not only seen the power of armament hockey, but he has also fought with Pika who has armament hockey. Lin-en has a more intuitive understanding of armament hockey. But seeing it is one thing, and being able to practice it successfully is another. Koshiro did not tell Lin-en the special practice method of armament hockey. He let Lin-en experience it in hard practice. This method is the awakening method of most armament hockey awakeners on the sea, and the most representative legendary figure is the Navy's Iron Fist Garp. Lin-en is not going to use this method, which is too slow to work. Lin-en wants to use scientific methods to quickly awaken armament hockey. But until night falls, Lin-en has not thought of how to awaken armament hockey. Suddenly, Lin-en's observation hockey chi sensed a large ship slowly approaching Shimotsuki village under the cover of night. Is this a pirate? Lin-en frowned. Although the pirates in the East China Sea are the weakest in the entire sea, it does not mean that there are no pirates. This ship approached the small town of Shimotsuki village at night, which was abnormal. If it was a pirate, it would be perfect. Lin-en needed a battle to sharpen his armament hockey awakening. But as Lin-en's observation hockey saw the decoration on the hull of the ship like a winding dragon, Lin-en immediately realized who it was. This was the ship of the Revolutionary Army, and Lin En immediately realized that it was the Revolutionary Dragoon who came to Shimotsuki village to find Koshiro to replenish food. Before Lin En thought too much, Lin En's back suddenly tightened. He felt that a person appeared silently behind him. Room. Lin En directly used the surgical space to teleport. He wanted to see who had such speed. But when Lin En teleported to the opposite side 30 meters away, his original place was empty, and the mysterious man was still behind him. Lin En's heart skipped a beat, and he teleported again, but the man was still behind him. After teleporting 3 times in a row, although Lin En did not look back, he also knew who was behind him. Bartholomew Big Bear, Lin En asked the man behind him softly. On the sea, there are only 3 fruits that can keep up with the speed of the surgery fruit, 2 of which are natural fruits, namely the flash fruit and the thunder fruit. And there is only one superhuman fruit, which is the meatball fruit that appears behind Lin En now. The meatball fruit looks like a very cute devil fruit, but it was developed by Bartholomew Big Bear to a conceptual level ability. The reason why he can keep up with the speed of Lin En's teleportation is that he can bounce off the air in front of him, allowing him to have a speed comparable to light. Now the reason why Big Bear can always appear behind Lin En is because of this. Have you heard of me? The man behind Lin En spoke. The man's voice was very gentle, which made Lin En more certain of his guess. You are a user of the superhuman meatball fruit. You joined the Revolutionary Army after causing a big disturbance in the kingdom of Solbul. Lin En did not tell all of Big Bear's deeds. He just selectively picked the one thing that Big Bear could talk about the most. That thing was not reported in the newspaper. How did you know? You are indeed not an ordinary boy. The figure behind him spoke again. Lin En turned around, and this time he finally saw Bartholomew Big Bear. He was nearly 7 meters tall, and even the tallest person Lin En had ever seen, Spade, Pika, was far less oppressive than his huge body. His whole body was covered in a wide cloak, and Lin En could only see Big Bear's wide chin. Big Bear stretched out his hand to Lin En, and Lin En saw the thick pads in the middle of Big Bear's palm like cat claws, and the air pressure cannon formed by the continuous compression of air. Lin En was very close to Big Bear, and Big Bear's attack was almost close to his face. But Lin En did not panic. After Big Bear released the shockwave at Lin En also stretched out his hand, and the air cannon formed by compressed air gently fell on Lin En's palm, and it did not explode. Is this the ability of the surgery fruit? Big Bear was not surprised to see this scene, he just asked Lin En lightly. This is just one of the most basic applications of the surgery fruit. Lin En emphasized to Big Bear. Big Bear's air cannon produces violent explosions by compressing space, but the area covered by Lin En's surgery space is decided by Lin En. Amazing fruit ability, then, won't this explode? Big Bear took a horse stance with his legs, and his palms began to push towards Lin En. This is an advanced version of the previous attack, pushing the pressure cannon. The principle of this attack is no different from the previous one. Countless air cannons quickly fill Lin En's surgery space. Big Bear's purpose is very simple. The space of the surgery fruit is not infinite. As long as he fills the surgery space with pressure cannons, there will always be a moment of explosion. Big Bear's fighting style was too rude, but Lin En was not without a solution. A bone appeared in Lin En's palm, and this bone became a bone knife and then broke and was held in Lin En's hand. Now that Baby 5 was gone, Lin En wanted to use weapons only by using his own bones. Big Bear, it's a secret that the Revolutionary Army came here. You won't wake up the people in the village, right? Lin En's figure teleported directly in front of Big Bear, and the long sword in his hand pierced Big Bear. Lin En had already mastered the iron cutting skill, and he could vaguely observe Big Bear's flaws. Facing the stabbing long sword, Big Bear did not dodge, he directly met his palm. After the sword in Lin En's hand pierced the pad in Big Bear's palm, Big Bear drained all his strength, and his sword had no killing power at this time. Big Bear's other hand grabbed the air, and a new air cannon was formed in his hand. Seeing this, Lin En decisively abandoned his sword, and his front body transformed into a hedgehog-like bone spike and stabbed directly at the bear. Ding ding ding. The spikes made a sound like metal collision when they touched the bear's body. Although his attack was unexpected, it did not break the bear's defense. It's a pity, young man, if your bone spurs were attached with armed color domineering, perhaps the result would be different. The bear said, and the air cannon was released silently in front of Lin En. Although the power of this air cannon was reduced for fear of waking up the villagers of Shimokatsuki village, the power in it also broke Lin En's bone spurs one after another. Rapid bone growth is the latest ability that Lin En has mastered, but he didn't expect that it was easily blocked by the bear. Faced with the almost unsolvable defense ability of the meatball fruit, Lin En didn't have a good solution for a while. Then try this move again. My move is called Chaos Body Charge. A light green blade appeared on Lin En's palm, and there was a dim electric light on the blade. This is the attack method that Lin En developed using the weak electricity in his body using the Operation Fruit. This attack is not like the Thunder Fruit that uses a strong current to electrocute the enemy. This attack is to let the weak electricity in his body enter the enemy's body and affect the enemy's control of the body. As long as these weak electricity enter the enemy's body, they will release electrons to the enemy's nerves, thereby confusing the enemy's motor nerves. When the motor nerves are confused, the enemy will lose control of the body. As soon as the weak electricity in Lin En's hand touched the big bear, all the weak electricity was compressed and finally entered the compressed big bear's palm. This ability cannot be used at all. Lin En didn't know whether this ability would be useful to Big Bear. My observation hockey actually sensed danger from your move, it's incredible. Big Bear looked at the light blue little Big Bear paw in front of him, and there was a hint of surprise in his tone. Big Bear is not a person who seeks death. Although Lin En's strength is far inferior to his, he will not be so reckless as to use his own body to test the law. Is this the strength of the top strong man in the sea? It's really unreasonable. Lin En made a bone sword again. Lin En could feel that Big Bear was letting him go, but even so, he still couldn't break Big Bear's defense. This is the most powerful enemy Lin En has encountered so far. Lin En has used all his abilities for this battle. Lin En directly covered Big Bear with the surgery fruit, and then he began to attack Big Bear wantonly. Although Lin En didn't know why Big Bear attacked him, from the degree of Big Bear's letting him go since the fight, Big Bear didn't have much hostility towards him. This was a great opportunity to rehearse. Lin En used all the conjectures he could think of and all the swordsmanship he mastered on Da Shang. The surgery fruit is a random killing of ordinary enemies, but it can only be an auxiliary means when facing a top strongman like Da Shang. The main means of fighting the enemy still depends on swordsmanship. Da Shang gave Lin En a great sense of oppression, and his swordsmanship skills also quickly ushered in a reborn change in the battle. Gradually, a dark aura appeared on Lin En's sword blade, and his sword actually cut a little of Da Shang's cloak. Armament hockey. I finally mastered armament hockey. Lin En felt the abnormality in his body just now, and he used the surgery fruit to reproduce the scene just now. This time the entire white bone sword turned black, and Lin En's aura became much stronger. Congratulations, you actually awakened the armament hockey in the battle. You can actually use the weak current in your body to develop a move. You are amazing, Lin En boy. In Lin En's perception, another person dressed in the same way appeared in front of Lin En. However, this person did not attack Lin En, he actually pressed his hand directly on the weak current that was compressed and imprisoned by the Big Bear's meatball fruit. Almost at the moment when the weak electricity was absorbed into his body, the mysterious man's body began to twitch, and then he fell to the ground uncontrollably. This attack seems to be not very powerful, but I lost control of my body. Lin En boy, your attack is simply the nemesis of physical skills. The man gave Lin En a very pertinent evaluation. The Shemale King Ambrio Ivankov. Lin En asked the funny man. The man's movements on the ground were too intense. He not only exposed his iconic huge purple afro, but also his light blue heavily made up face. In fact, even if his cloak was very large, the head that was larger than an adult could not be covered. Ah, am I exposed? Hearing Lin En's words, Ivankov's struggling huge body suddenly stopped, and a trace of panic appeared on his face. No way. Ivankov stood up with his hands upside down, and he also uttered the catchphrase, hip-hop, from his mouth. Obviously, he still hasn't unlocked the chaos charge. Strange, my hormone fruit has no effect on your move. Ivankov was shocked. His devil fruit can give him absolute control over his body, so why can't he control Lin's attack? Don't waste your energy, your hormone fruit is the hormone that controls the human body, and my chaos charge doesn't use hormones. Lin said to the funny guy in front of him. Lin boy, do you think you can control me with this ability? For me who has the hormone fruit, I can solve the chaos in my body directly from the inside of the mountain. Ivankov smiled confidently, and then his body began to move around. No matter how he controlled it, he couldn't make his hands and feet obey his orders. Da Shang couldn't stand it anymore, and he patted Ivankov lightly with his hand, and all the weak electricity released by Lin was patted out of Ivankov's body by Da Shang. Now Ivankov finally returned to normal. Big Bear's response was correct. In addition to using the power of the devil fruit to remove it, there is another way to use the armed color domineering to forcibly regain control of the body. Lin En boy, aren't you in Germa? Why are you here? Are you brewing a big plan? Ivankov's big head came in front of Lin En, and he asked Lin En mysteriously. I came to learn swordsmanship from Mr. Koshiro. Now I am just an ordinary swordsmanship apprentice in Isshin Dojo. Lin En picked up the sword in his hand and said to Ivankov. Koshiro is a good swordsmanship teacher. You have a good eye. A deep man's voice sounded. Through his military green cloak, Lin En could see a strange diamond-shaped tattoo on his face. Monkey D. Dragon, Lin En asked this person. After this man appeared, Big Bear and Ivankov surrounded him, not to mention the mark on his face. Although Lin En's previous sentence was a question, he was actually sure that it was Dragon. Yes, I am Dragon. Originally, I wanted to talk to you, Lin En, in the North Sea about the purchase of Germa's armor, but I didn't expect you to appear in Shimotsky village. Drag said to Lin En. He was not surprised that the Revolutionary Army knew that he was the actual controller of Germa. If there was no developed intelligence network, the Revolutionary Army would have been wiped out by the world government long ago, and how could Dragon become the most vicious criminal in the world? Lin En boy, your armor is really great, Lindbergh said your armor is a perfect weapon. Ivankov's big head came over and he added to Lin En. The Revolutionary Army got the design drawings published by Germa, but according to their research, there were no drawings for several extremely critical parts of those armors. If the Revolutionary Army could master the technology of manufacturing armor, they would not be so passive in the battle with the world government. Unfortunately, the Revolutionary Army got the news that Germa was heading to the East China Sea before the Northern Army Captain Crow arrived in Germa. I've told Judge that no matter if it's a pirate, a navy, or anyone else, as long as you pay, you can sell it. You can just go and talk to Judge directly. Lin didn't expect that Dragon would actually ask him this directly. We need 10 armors, and the shorter the delivery time, the better. But now Germa's order for armor production has been scheduled for half a year. Talking about business, Dragon's expression also became formal. Lin En roughly understood what Dragon meant. He wanted Lin En to use the back door for the Revolutionary Army. There is a reason why the Revolutionary Army can become so big by using the back door to come to him. Just 10 armors, this is very simple for me. But Lin En was silent at this point, and his eyes looked at Dragon. Lin En, I wonder what we can do to help Germa. Dragon already understood what Lin En meant. It's not Germa's business, it's my business. You have to go to Shimotsky village to raise food. I need the help of Ivankov's hormone fruit tonight. Lin En said to Dragon. Oh, do you want to become a cute girl, Lin En, boy? Ivankov's eyes were shining, and he looked at Lin En as if he saw his own people. Ivan, leave the food collection to me. You just listen to Brother Lin's orders tonight. Drag thought it was a big deal, but Lin's request was so simple. Drag and Big Bear left the beach as if they were teleporting. Only Lin and the Shemale King Embryo Ivankov were left here. Lin, you have a good eye. You know I was once called a human engineer for internal transformation of people. Come on, let me turn you into a perfect Shemale. Embryo Ivankov looked at Lin up and down. He had already started thinking about how to transform Lin. Give up your idea. I just want you to use the power of the hormone fruit on me. I want to see what the hormone fruit and the surgery fruit have in common. Lin said to Ivankov, the hormone fruit is the control of the secretion of the human body, such as growth hormone, estrogen, androgen. And the control hormones are also used in the operation, such as adrenaline. Devil fruits are idealistic, Since these hormones are included in the operation, Lin En can control hormones. If Lin En's conjecture is correct, then Lin En can gain the ability to control endocrine. Although I don't know how you are going to do it, I think it should be very interesting. Ivankov smiled. Ivan, from now on, you don't need to talk too much, you just need to cooperate with me according to my requirements. After Lin En and Ivankov were alone for 3 minutes, he reluctantly made this request to Ivankov. Ivankov in front of him was simply hyperactive plus chatterbox, and his strong curiosity almost made him unable to stop talking for a moment. Lin En boy, you are still a child, why are you so mature, you are not cute at all. Ivankov heard Lin En's words, he made a very troubled expression, and then he stopped talking. Then let's start with female hormones. Lin En boy, you must be a very cute lady when you become a lady. 5 sharp thorns suddenly appeared on Ivankov's palm, and he stabbed directly at Lin En's waist. Room. Lin En teleported away from the previous position directly, and Ivankov didn't stab anything. Wait for this, don't you have hypertrophic hormones? Let's start with this, Lin En said to Ivankov. Lin En felt a headache for this guy who wanted to turn people into cute girls at any time. Hypertrophic hormones, Ivankov said, and his hands went straight into Lin En's waist. Lin En felt that something was injected into his body. In less than 3 seconds, Lin En felt that his physical strength, which had been exhausted in the battle with the big bear, quickly became abundant. The heartbeat increased by 20%, and even the blood flow rate increased. The fundus of the eye is bleeding, the blood vessels in the hands and feet are bulging, and people also have the desire to fight. Quote. Lin En felt that his soul and body were split into 2 completely different individuals through the operation fruit. The body became unprecedentedly manic, but the soul remained extremely calm and could even record various abnormalities in the body. Lin En can control the peristalsis of his internal organs, which allows Lin En to get more nutrition than others by eating food. Although he cannot control his internal organs 100% yet, Lin En's absorption of food is no worse than that of a strong man who has mastered the return of life. Compared with internal organs, it seems that Lin En's application of bones is stronger than that of the 5 internal organs. This is the inspiration that Lin En got from the transformation of human exoskeleton by the Germa bloodline factor. And now, with the help of Ivankov, Lin En saw the excitement hormone. In layman's terms, the excitement hormone is called adrenaline. If it were normal, he would not be able to control the substances secreted by his body, but in the operating space, Lin En has absolute control over his body. Ivan, can you control the amount of hormones? Lin En asked Ivankov. I am a hormone fruit ability user, of course I can control the hormones entering your body. Considering that your body has not yet fully grown, I only used half the amount of an adult. Ivankov explained at this time. Lin En probably understood that Yuan's control was entirely based on experience, and he did not subdivide the amount of hormones injected. Driven by the operation fruit, the excitatory hormones in Lin En's body began to be gradually controlled by Lin En. Lin En's somewhat violent breath began to gradually calm down. What's going on? Is your body more resistant to my excitatory hormones? Feeling that Lin En regained his composure so quickly, Ivankov stroked his chin with his left hand and thought. Ivankov could feel that Lin En had been affected by hormones before, but the hormones disappeared quickly due to unknown influence. Ivankov had injected excitatory hormones for so many people on the sea, and this was the first case like Lin En. Lin En boy, did you use the power of the operation fruit to offset my hormone fruit power? Ivankov's eyes lit up, and he had guessed the truth. It's not a cancellation. I used the power of the operation fruit to store your excited hormone power just now. Lin En replied to Ivankov. How can it be like this? No wonder the operation fruit has fallen into your hands. It seems that you are indeed the most suitable person for it. Ivankov remembered the rumors on the sea. The rumor said that what kind of fruit power each ability user gets is actually predetermined. It's not that people choose the devil fruit, but that the devil living in the devil fruit chooses the person with the most similar personality to it. Lin En's use of the operation fruit has far exceeded the operation itself. In terms of the development of the devil fruit ability alone, Lin En is definitely one of the people who has developed it the most. Ivan, try to adjust the devil fruit through the operation fruit. what is the difference between the hormones that stimulate the hormones and your excitement hormones? Quote. Lin En put his hand on Ivankov's waist, and then Ivankov felt the excitement hormones in his body being aroused. Why can you master the ability similar to the hormone fruit? I don't remember saying that the hormone fruit has any higher devil fruit. Quote. Ivankov is a user of the hormone fruit, and his ability to control the hormones in his body is no less than that of Lin in the surgical space. Each devil fruit has its own unique ability, but Ivankov found that the ability of the surgery fruit now overlaps with that of the hormone fruit. This fruit is a god-level devil fruit that he snatched from the Valley of God when he was young. He even saved a kingdom that was already terminally ill with this fruit. But now Lin has used the surgery fruit to produce the effect of the hormone fruit, which makes Ivankov feel that his hormone fruit is suddenly not fragrant. I use the surgery fruit to speed up the operation of your organs that produce excited hormones, so that more hormones than usual will be secreted from your body. This is much more troublesome than converting any hormone directly with your physical strength. As if seeing Ivankov's shock, Lin explained to Ivankov. Lin boy, can we start using the second hormone now? Quote. Ivankov's mood quickly adjusted, and now he has returned to his previous state of a sunny and cheerful big boy. This time I will show you a very powerful hormone, facial growth hormone. Ivankov said, and he dug his fingernails into his big face. Originally, Ivankov's nearly 5-meter height was 3 meters of his big face. Now with the catalysis of hormones, Ivankov's originally huge face has become even bigger. Isn't this the multiplication technique? Lin En looked at Ivankov's big face, and he suddenly thought of a ninjutsu from another world. Ivankov's growth hormone was injected into the face, so he made his face bigger. If the growth hormone is injected into other places, can this place also become bigger? The next moment, looking at his casserole-sized fist, Lin En knew that his guess was indeed correct. This reminded Lin En of Monkey D. Luffy's rubber fruit. No, it should be called the Nika fruit now. That fruit can turn a person's physique into a rubber-like substance, and as long as you blow air into the gap between the bones, the corresponding part can be enlarged. Next is the healing hormone. This ability is very harmful to the human body. If the injury is serious enough, this ability will consume life. After Ivankov finished introducing it to Lin En, he inserted his nails into Lin En's body. The next moment, Lin En felt that the cells in his body began to metabolize rapidly at an unreasonable speed. The rapid metabolism of cells caused the food in Lin En's body to be consumed quickly, and the next moment, Lin En's own body began to be consumed. This consumption rate is much faster than Lin En's ability to use the operation fruit. Lin En had only suffered a minor injury before, and when the wound was completely healed, this ability stopped. Although the healing hormone can make people recover quickly, the consumption of the human body is also extremely alarming. After Lin En experienced it, he said to Ivankov, "Hee-ha, you are really a smart boy. This trick cannot be used as a regular treatment method." Ivankov agreed with Lin En's statement. Then, the last one is female hormone. Lin En boy, turn into a cute girl. Ivankov's face became extremely excited, and he also changed from a greasy man just now to a queen with a hot body. After the female hormone was injected into his body, Lin En felt that his body began to change at a speed visible to the naked eye. His hair grew longer rapidly, and in less than a moment, Lin En also turned into a black and straight beauty with an explosive body. Before, Lin En had used the operation fruit to exchange souls and enter the bodies of Baby 5 and Reiju, but that was for combat and research. This was completely different from the feeling of seeing himself become a girl. Lin En visually estimated that his current figure seemed to be better than that of Baby 5. Do you like this feeling, little Lin En? Admit it, you still want to be a girl in your heart. Ivankov gently lifted Lin En's chin, and she teased Lin En. I like girls, but I don't want to become a girl. Lin En said to Ivankov. Lin En then realized that his voice became delicate and clear, and it sounded very pleasant. What if I don't help you change back, what will you do? Ivankov showed an excited expression, and he couldn't wait to get an answer. I can change back by myself. Lin En's first few words were still in the voice of a girl, but when he said the last 2 words, he had changed back to his original voice. Lin En's height began to grow, and his curvy figure returned to normal. Lin En turned back into a man. What's going on? How did you use male hormones? Ivankov's eyes bulged, and he looked very confused. Is this how male hormones are used? Lin En smiled at Ivankov. When the female hormones took effect on Lin En's body, Lin En found those hormones that continued to retreat and collected them. Those were male hormones. After the female hormones took full effect, Lin En used the power of the surgery fruit to directly let the male hormones go around the root in the body just now, and Lin En returned to normal. You actually developed the power of the hormone fruit with the surgery fruit. Lin En boy, you are really a monster. Ivankov looked at Lin En, and his expression was so serious for the first time. I feel bad when I think that you, Lin boy, learned my hormone fruit ability overnight. Ivankov's face showed pain. He tightly covered his chest, looking heartbroken. Ivankov seemed to be unstable and began to stagger. No way. Ivankov became energetic again and posed his classic pose. Unfortunately, Lin's expression did not change. He knew how funny Ivankov was, so he would not be fooled by Ivankov. Lin boy, you are so young, how can you be as boring as Dragon? Seeing that Lin En had not been fooled by him, Ivankov suddenly felt bored. It's not a good habit to talk about others behind their backs, Ivan. The figure of Dorag appeared behind Ivankov, which made Ivankov's expression freeze instantly. Have you collected all the food? Lin En saw Dorag and asked Dorag. It will take some time. Dorag replied. Lin En boy, we will have a chance to meet again. After Ivankov finished speaking to Lin En, he walked towards their ship. As for Big Bear, the man was very taciturn and said nothing. Dorag, Lin En said that the armor has been prepared for us, and we can send people to the kingdom of Korkia to receive it. Quote. After returning to the ship, Ivankov said to Dragon. When Ivankov and Lin En were testing the power of the hormone fruit, Lin En used the Den Den Mushi to tell Jaji about this matter, and Jaji had already arranged it. Let Betty go, let the 10 companions get familiar with the armor in the kingdom of Korgi first, and then reunite with us. Dragon said to Ivankov, are we going to do a big move? Ivankov immediately became excited. It's just an idea, and it may not be implemented in detail. Dragon looked at the sea. He was still so cautious. Dragon, Lin En's strength is very good. Do you want to absorb him into our group? After Ivankov left, Big Bear spoke to Dragon. Lin En has not grown up yet, but Big Bear has seen Lin En's potential. That young man is very ambitious. He is not the same as us. Quote. Dragon said to Big Bear. Dragon did not think about recruiting Lin En. Lin En's strength and ability are very strong. If he joins the Revolutionary Army, he will at least be a strong man above the level of army captain. But Dragon feels that Lin En is also a man with amazing ambitions, otherwise he would not have come to the East China Sea to practice hard after controlling Germa. As the sky was about to dawn, the big ship of the Revolutionary Army disappeared on the sea. Chapter 31. The great celestial dragons are about to arrive in the kingdom of Goa. Lin En picked up the newspaper and saw the headline of the World Economic News. The celestial dragons are coming to the East China Sea, and the uncertainty terminal of the kingdom of Goa seems to be burning. Lin En looked at the headlines of today's newspaper and knew that the gears of fate of the 3 Luffy brothers were about to start turning. Now that he has learned swordsmanship, armed color domineering and observation color domineering in Shimotsuki village, there is no need for him to stay in Shimotsuki village. Lin En, are we leaving Shimotsuki village? Baby 5 seemed to realize something and asked Lin En. These days, Baby 5 was sent by him to the kingdom of Korgi to observe the war of Germa. Baby 5 is a weapon fruit ability user. Seeing more weapons and applications is a good way to enhance Baby 5. After the Revolutionary Army came last night, Baby 5 was called back by Lin En. It's almost time. Wait a few more days, and then we'll leave Shimotsuki village and travel around the East China Sea. Looking at Baby 5's expectant eyes, Lin En said to Baby 5. Baby 5, you prepare to go to sea, I'll go to Ishin Dojo first. Lin En said to Baby 5. Although they were just traveling in the East China Sea, they needed to prepare 2 or 3 days of clean water and food on a small boat. Are you needed again? I'll prepare it now. When Baby 5 heard Lin En's words, she instantly became full of energy. You're really a natural worker. Lin En saw Baby Five's full of fighting spirit, and this thought suddenly appeared in his mind. You actually mastered the armament hockey. Isshin Dojo. Koshiro's tone was full of shock. If I remember correctly, he just explained the principle of armament hockey to Lin En yesterday, right? In just one day, Lin En successfully practiced armament hockey. What a talent! Koshiro had only heard of people who were born with armament hockey awakening, but Lin En was the first person Koshiro had seen who could successfully practice armament hockey in one night. Well, I fought with those people who came to Shimotsuki village last night. Those people were very strong. I used armament hockey unconsciously under pressure. Lin En explained lightly. So that's it. I said I seemed to sense the breath of battle last night. Koshiro had no intention of hiding it from Lin En. Lin En had already met with Dragon and his party, so there was no point in him hiding it anymore. Lin En, I have nothing more to teach you. The rest requires you to go through life and death trials on the sea. Koshiro looked at the overly young disciple in front of him, and in a trance, he felt that he had seen the future great swordsman. With such a terrifying talent, as long as Lin En doesn't die midway, Lin En will definitely have a place in the future great swordsman on the sea. Father, are you going to drive Lin En away? Kuina also came in at this time, and she just happened to hear what Koshiro said. It's not that I want to drive him away, but he has awakened the armament hockey, and I have nothing to teach him. Hearing his daughter's words, Koshiro's forehead dripped a drop of cold sweat. His daughter seemed to be questioning him, which made Koshiro realize that Kuina might not stay in Isshin Dojo for long. Kuina's change was caused by Lin En. When Lin En left, Kuina was very likely to go to sea with Lin En. If Lin En wants to leave, then I will go with Lin En. Sure enough, Kuina's words confirmed Koshiro's guess. No, you have neither mastered Zantetsu nor armament hockey. It's too dangerous for you to go out to sea now. Lin En refused before Koshiro could speak. Then, if I mastered Zantetsu and armament hockey, can I go on adventures with you? Kuina didn't care about Lin En's refusal. She got the point from Lin En's words. That's right. When Mr. Koshiro thinks you have the ability to protect yourself, I will come to pick you up in person. Lin En smiled at Kuina. Lin En, I admit that I lost the competition with you again this time, but I won't keep losing. I want to become the strongest swordsman on this sea. Kuina's eyes were full of fighting spirit. Koshiro had an awkward smile on his face. He felt that his presence at this time was extremely annoying. Then I'll take my leave first, Mr. Koshiro. Lin En said to Koshiro. Hey, Lin En, I have practiced a new trick. Let's duel. Lin En had just walked out of Koshiro's room when he met Zoro, the green-haired man. Zoro had been training himself harder during this period, and his strength had increased again. Zoro, Lin En has mastered the armament hockey, and he is leaving the village to go to sea. Before Lin En could speak, Kuina said to Zoro behind Lin En. Going to sea. Has Lin En completed his studies at Isshin Dojo? Zoro opened his mouth in surprise. He didn't expect that Lin En had completed his swordsmanship training. Teacher Koshiro, is what Kuina said true? Zoro asked Koshiro, who came out last, unwillingly. Of course it's true. Lin En came here to say goodbye to me. Koshiro's words shocked Zoro even more. Zoro, practice well, I'll wait for you on the sea. After Lin En said this to Zoro, he walked out of Isshin Dojo. Lin, one day in the future, I will beat you. Zoro's voice echoed in the sky across the Isshin Dojo. Baby Five is very efficient. She has prepared everything before going out to sea. They can go out to sea as soon as tomorrow morning comes. Baby Five is grilling a huge sea fish. When the sea fish is grilled and sizzling, the wind suddenly blows on the coast. What a strange weather. No wonder Mr. Koshiro said there will be a big storm tonight and asked all residents to close the doors and windows and not walk around. Baby Five felt the increasingly strong wind and said to Lin. The apprentices of Isshin Dojo are all from Shimotsuki village or the surrounding villages. They can all go home to avoid the storm, and she and Lin are the two exceptions. Don't worry, Mr. Dorag will not let the storm affect us. As Lin's voice fell, the storm suddenly became much smaller. Lin, who is Dorag? Baby Five asked Lin. She felt that the name was familiar, but she didn't remember seeing such a person. Before Lin had time to explain to Baby5, he felt a very terrible breath envelop the place. In just a moment, Baby 5 fainted with white eyes. Brother Lin, we meet again. Dorag walked out of the darkness and said to Lin. Did you use the Conqueror's Haki just now? Lin En looked at Dragon in front of him and asked Dragon. He had seen the Conqueror's Haki on Doflamingo before, but Doflamingo released it for a moment and Lin En did not have time to experience it. This time, Dragon was the same. Although his Conqueror's Haki was only released for a moment, Lin En felt that his Conqueror's Haki was at least 10 times stronger than Doflamingo's. Yes, it was indeed the Conqueror's Haki. Dragon admitted. Lin En, you are the user of the Operation Fruit, can you help me save someone? He is dying. After saying this, Dragon directly stated the purpose of coming here. I can try. Lin En boarded the Revolutionary Army's ship. It has to be said that the Revolutionary Army is really a mysterious organization. The ordinary members of this organization all wear cloaks that cover their entire bodies, and they also wear animal masks on their faces, which looks very mysterious. In the medical room of this ship, Ivankov and Big Bear are using their fruit powers to keep Sabo alive. Big Bear uses the power of the meatball fruit to eject small red balls from Sabo's body. These small red meatballs are the pain caused by Sabo. And Ivankov is constantly injecting hormones into the boy to keep him alive. This boy must be Sabo. Lin En saw the boy with golden hair, and he had guessed the identity of this boy. Lin En boy, this boy's bones and internal organs were shattered by the cannons of the celestial dragons. Can your surgery fruit ability restore him? Ivankov saw Lin En appear, and a hint of joy flashed in his eyes. I haven't tried it, I can try. Lin En opened the operating space, and Sabo's injuries stopped worsening. Sabo may have felt it, and his twisted face began to slowly calm down. Seeing that Sabo's injuries stabilized, Big Bear ejected himself directly from the operating room. The operating room in the cabin was not big to begin with, and Big Bear left directly after Lin En took over. The originally crowded operating room suddenly became spacious. Lin En directly cut open Sabo's stomach with a bone knife. Seeing the scene in the stomach, the two people in the operating room couldn't help but shrink their pupils. Half of Sabo's internal organs were damaged. If Ivankov and Big Bear hadn't kept him alive, he would have died immediately. Fortunately, Sabo's internal organs were all in his body. Lin En only needed to complete the splicing, and Ivankov would inject healing hormones into Sabo's internal organs. Soon, the first internal organ was repaired. It really works. Ivankov's face showed joy. After that, they did the same thing, and Sabo's organs were repaired one by one. After the internal organs were repaired, the broken bones were easier to repair. In less than half an hour, Sabo, who originally looked like a broken rag doll, finally recovered. Sabo's life was finally saved. The Operation Fruit is worthy of being called the Operation Fruit. It can really be used to save the life of the boy in front of him. Ivankov saw this scene and he also laughed. Where did this boy come from? I seem to sense that there are many civilians on this ship. What happened? Lin En asked Ivankov. Although Lin En had guessed it, he still wanted to hear what happened specifically. They are all residents rescued from a place called Uncertainty Terminal in the Kingdom of Goa. Ivankov's eyes looked at Sabo, and he told Lin En what happened. The Kingdom of Goa has gained a lot of reputation in the world government because of its spotless town. Some celestial dragons heard the news and said they wanted to come and see it. In order to keep the country absolutely clean, the nobles of the Kingdom of Goa decided to completely wipe out the dark side of the country Uncertainty Terminal. So last night the Kingdom of Goa set a big fire at the Uncertainty Terminal, and the entire Uncertainty Terminal was burned to a white ground. When the Kingdom of Goa was setting fire, they actually did not allow the residents of the Kingdom of Goa to put out the fire. The Revolutionary Army appeared there, and Dragon used his ability to open a passage for the people trapped there. Those who could not survive decided to join the Revolutionary Army in order to thank the Revolutionary Army for its kindness. This is the origin of the people on the boats in front of us. As for Sabo, it was discovered by the Revolutionary Army when they were stalking the celestial dragons during the day. At that time, the celestial dragons were heading to the Kingdom of Goa, and the boy in front of them rowed a small boat with a tattered pirate flag out to sea from the Kingdom of Goa. The celestial dragons did not expect that there would be a ship that dared to block their way. In front of him, he fired directly and sank the boy's boat. When Dorag rescued the boy, he found that he was dying, and Ivankov and Big Bear began to hang on to his life. The cadres of the Revolutionary Army had all seen Lin En, and they happened to be going to Shimotsky village to replenish food, so they tried to let Lin En save the boy. Wait, why are you following the celestial dragons? Are you going to attack the celestial dragons? Lin En had long known the truth about the uncertainty terminal, and he was not shocked by what Ivankov said, but he seemed to have heard something extraordinary. Celestial dragons? What celestial dragons? I just said that there were celestial dragons visiting the kingdom of Goa, and I didn't say anything else. Ivankov realized that he seemed to have said something wrong, and then he refused to say anything more about the celestial dragons. Interesting, I didn't expect the Revolutionary Army to have such a terrible plan. Lin En didn't continue to ask Ivankov, but he had roughly guessed something. It seems that the Revolutionary Army is going to attack the celestial dragons. The celestial dragons are known as the world's nobles. No matter what they do, they will be protected by the world government and the navy. It can be said that these celestial dragons are the biggest cancer in this world. The celestial dragons have no strength at all, but no one dares to attack them. Because once someone offends the celestial dragons, the admiral of the navy and CP0 will raise that area to the ground. The world government has been established for so long, and no one has ever dared to attack the celestial dragons. It is precisely because of this that the celestial dragons are so inflated that they call themselves gods at every turn. If the Revolutionary Army can kill the celestial dragons, it may cause a great shock on the sea. Lin En, I'm going to help them move food. Do you want to come with me? Ivankov saw that Lin En seemed to be still thinking about the celestial dragons, so he said to Lin En, "This topic is the top secret information of the Revolutionary Army. Ivankov can't tell Lin En this top secret information." When Lin En came out of the cabin, he saw the Revolutionary Army quietly bringing in bags of food. There were quite a few of these revolutionary soldiers, but they didn't make any noise. The next day, a big news made the whole world tremble. Shock! The celestial dragons visiting the kingdom of Goa were attacked at the upside-down mountain. This was the first time that the newspaper published the news of the celestial dragons being attacked, and everyone who saw the news was shocked. Dad, someone finally took action against the celestial dragons. In the New World, on the Moby Dick, Marco's face was full of admiration for the force that attacked the celestial dragons. Who has the courage to attack the celestial dragons? When he heard that the celestial dragons were attacked, a gleam of light flashed in Whitebeard's eyes. Even he, who was known as the world's strongest pirate group, did not want to rashly attack the celestial dragons. Once he killed the celestial dragons, the world government would fight him to the death. Whitebeard was just a pirate, not a madman. Even Kaido, who always enjoyed suicide, did not dare to do such a thing. Is there another daring new pirate star? When the other captains heard the big news, they all started to discuss. Those attackers are the armors that have been popular in the sea recently. Those attackers wore armors all the time, and no one knows who they are. Marco showed the picture in the newspaper, and everyone saw the armors flying in the sky with fire under their feet in the photo. In these attacks from the sky, the warships responsible for protecting the celestial dragons all became waste. These armors are painted with strange colors. Not only do they have no signs of any forces on the appearance, but their appearance is also completely different from the armor made by Germa. So, as long as you wear this armor, no one will know whether the person under these armors is tall or short, fat or thin. Captain Saki of the 4th Division flashed a thoughtful look. Not only that, no one knows whether the person under this armor is an ordinary human, a fishman, or even a giant. Joe's proposed an even more amazing idea. The eyes of these pirates all lit up at this time. Although they didn't know who was assassinating the celestial dragons, this force provided them with a new idea. Perhaps these armors will become the strongest assassination weapons on this sea in the future. Whitebeard only took a glance at the newspaper, and he knew that this news would greatly increase the fame of Germa's armor. The celestial dragons were attacked, and now Sengoku and the others should also be dispatched. Now, the pirates in the East China Sea will be purged. Whitebeard has fought with the world government for decades, and he knows the style of the world government. The attackers arranged very carefully this time, and the world government will not find any clues. But the celestial dragons were attacked, so someone must be responsible for this matter. The result can only be that the pirates in the East China Sea are unlucky. Beckman, who do you think did this? In Windmill Village, the red hair pirates were also discussing this issue. Does it matter who did it? What matters is who will bear the wrath of the celestial dragons. Ben Beckman drank the wine in front of him slowly, and he said to Shanks, "Is there any doubt about this? It must be our pirates who are unlucky." On the table behind Beckman, Jesus Bu put one hand on the armrest of the chair, and he said to his companions. When the other pirates heard Jesus Bu's words, they laughed even happier. They are the red hair pirates. Other pirates are afraid of the Navy, but they are not afraid. Mr. Shanks, if the Navy wants to deal with you, you will be troubled, right? Bar owner Machino opened a bottle of wine for Shanks, and she asked Shanks. She is just an ordinary bar owner. Although these people in front of her are pirates in name, after getting along with them for this period of time, Machino feels that these pirates are not bad people. Shanks, you seem to be underestimated. Hearing Machino's words, Lackey Lou laughed at Shanks. The other members also echoed, and the whole tavern was filled with a cheerful atmosphere. We are currently the strongest among the East China Sea pirates. If the Navy wants to take action, we may be the first target. Although Beckman despised the Navy tactically, he never underestimated any opponent in battle. Where is that little guy Luffy? Why didn't I see him today? Jesus looked around and found that Luffy, who always came every day, didn't come today. He went to worship his sworn brother Sabo. Sabo was killed by the celestial dragons on the day they visited the Goa Kingdom. When Machino heard Jesus' words, she also thought of Sabo. Compared with Luffy and Ace, he was a very polite child. It's this in the newspaper, it was done by an attacked celestial dragon. The red hair pirates reacted. No wonder Luffy didn't come today, it turned out that he encountered such a thing. They actually attacked the celestial dragons, the revolutionary army is really generous. In the East China Sea, Lin En rode Baby 5 on the sea. This time, Baby 5 transformed not into an amphibious motorcycle, but a yacht. This also gave Lin En a more comfortable riding experience. No matter how Lin En asked last night, Ivankov didn't reveal what they were going to do. Now Lin En knows that they actually attacked the celestial dragons, and they used the armor that Lin En gave them. The armor on the sea is all produced by Germa. Will Germa be punished by the world government? Quote. The voice of Baby 5 came from the yacht. Lin En subdued Germa, manufactured armor, disrupted the North Sea, and participated in a series of actions. Now the whole sea knows that all the armor was produced by Germa, and the world government is likely to make things difficult for Germa. Germa is now one of the forces controlled by Lin En, and Baby 5 does not want to see Lin En's power damaged. But the world government is a behemoth, and she doesn't know how to help Lin En. Don't worry, Germa has evidence to prove that they didn't do it. Because all the armor produced by Germa has a number, and those armors that leave the factory have a number, and they all have alibis. The armor that attacked the celestial dragons must have been made by a force based on the armor's design drawings. After all, Germa has made all the design drawings public in order to let the member countries deal with pirates. Lin En laughed. What if the world government doesn't believe it? Baby 5 asked a very sophisticated question. Now Germa has the strength that they must believe. Quote. Lin En laughed. Swoosh. While Lin En was discussing this matter with Baby 5, Lin En's observation hockey found that a cannonball was actually shooting straight at them. The pirates on this sea all used muzzle-loading solid cannons, and the hit rate of this kind of cannonball was very touching. But the cannonball in front of him was an exception, and its landing point was actually this Baby 5. Who is attacking me? Lin En didn't think of who the enemy was for a moment. Room. Lin En used the ability of the surgical space to move the shell that was about to hit Baby 5 horizontally. Boom. The shell hit the sea, and a huge wave was blown up. It's the buggy pirates. Lin En's observation hockey had already seen the pirate ship firing in the distance, and he also recognized the pirate group by the red-nosed pirate flag painted on the sail. The buggy pirates are a well-known pirate group in the East China Sea. The captain of this pirate group is the clown buggy with a bounty of 15 million Baileys. Buggy is the only pirate with a special ability in the East China Sea, and he is also the most hidden pirate in the East China Sea. Lin En has not yet gone to find Buggy, but he didn't expect Buggy to take the initiative to provoke him. The shell fired by the Buggy pirates was very powerful, and the hull of Baby 5 began to shake. Who is attacking us? Baby 5's upper body appeared at the corner of the bow, and one of her arms turned into a sniper scope. There, the pirates attacked us. Baby 5 immediately locked onto the pirate ship in the distance, and she began to drive straight towards the ship. How come you missed it so close? On the Buggy pirate's ship, a man with a big red nose and clown makeup on his face angrily cursed his subordinates. They were originally planning to rob a town on the sea and use the wealth of the robbery to buy a machine to dig for treasure. But they saw the peculiar-shaped Baby 5 on the road. According to Buggy's intuition, he felt that those who could ride such a ship must be rich people, so Buggy had the idea of plundering and fired a shot at Lin. But what Buggy didn't expect was that the shot that was sure to hit just now suddenly deviated. Captain Buggy, I saw that our shells had clearly hit the target, and I don't know why the shells suddenly deviated. The gunner who fired the cannon just now almost cried. Captain Buggy, that small boat is rushing straight towards us, they seem to have discovered us. The lookout saw this outrageous scene at the top of the ship, and he hurriedly reported to Buggy. He didn't run away after noticing the bombardment, and he dared to rush towards our Buggy pirates. Is this guy crazy? Buggy rubbed his smooth chin with his left hand wearing a white glove, and the next moment he put his hands on his waist and laughed. Could it be that this guy was scared by the name of Lord Buggy, and he was ready to take the initiative to hand over his treasure and ship to the great Captain Buggy? Buggy stepped on the barrel with one foot, and he immediately laughed. Is Captain Buggy crazy? He's a pirate. How can he have such fantasies? The animal trainer Licky moved to the side of the chief of staff, Kabaji, who was riding a unicycle, and whispered to Kabaji. Who made him the captain? Kabaji spread his hands and ordered the gunner to fire. Ordinary civilians would run as far as they could when they encountered pirates, but this ship was abnormally close to here. Kabaji felt that perhaps the people on this ship were pirate hunters. However, this was an opportunity for them. The closer this ship was to the ship of the Buggy pirates, the higher their hit rate. Fire. When Lin's enemy was finally locked by the Buggy pirates, several cannons on the Buggy pirates' ship were fired almost at the same time. Swish, swish, swish. Cannonballs appeared in front, behind, left and right of Lin. Most of the shells missed, and huge waves were raised around Baby 5. Only 3 shells were directed at Baby 5's cabin, but unfortunately the shells disappeared at the moment they were about to hit the ship. This is not an illusion, the shells actually disappeared. The pirates of the Buggy pirates saw this scene, and their jaws were about to hit the deck in surprise. Devil Fruit ability. No mistake, this is a Devil Fruit ability user. Buggy saw this scene, and a drop of cold sweat appeared on his forehead. Buggy himself was a person who almost reached Elbaf, so his knowledge was naturally much better than that of his crew members. For a long time, Buggy was the only Devil Fruit ability user except for Smoker, the Navy colonel of the Rogue Town branch. Now there is a third one. I originally wanted to rob him, but now I have to sink him with the Buggy bomb. Buggy's face sank, and he ordered the crew members. The Baki bomb is a special shell developed by Baki himself. This shell can destroy most of the town with one shot. It can be said that 13 million of Baki's 15 million Bailey's bounty as the credit goes to the Buggy bomb. When the Buggy bomb entered Lin's operating room, Lin discovered something unusual. This shell is different from ordinary shells. There is even a flag of the Buggy pirates painted on it. This is the Buggy bomb developed by Buggy. Lin recognized it immediately. In order to prevent the power of the Buggy bomb from affecting him, Lin used brute force to throw the Buggy bomb hundreds of meters away. Boom! A violent sound exploded, and a fireball hundreds of meters high rose from the sea. Whoosh! The violent shock wave pushed Baby 5 to rush towards the Buggy pirates faster. Have you seen the power of my Buggy bomb? Keep loading, I don't believe I can't blow this guy away. Buggy danced on the ship. Captain Buggy didn't hit the ship at all. Vice Captain Mochi complained to Chief of Staff Kabaji. Yeah, even the Buggy bomb can't do anything to that ship, we think we should run. Kajiba also agreed at this time. But they were too late, Lin En had already appeared in front of the buggy pirates. Kakaka. Baby Five's body was deformed, and she turned directly into a golden and red mark armor to wrap Lin En inside. Boom. Flames burst out from her back and under her feet, and the mark armor landed steadily on the deck of the buggy pirates. Seeing Lin Enu and Baby Five's cool appearance, Buggy was a little stunned. It turns out that it's not one ability user, but two devil fruit ability users. Bucky was a little panicked. Before, Lin En was so difficult to deal with alone, and this girl in a maid outfit seemed to be even stronger. Little guys, come on. Although Buggy was panicked, he was not completely confused. He still had a trick, the special Buggy bomb. As long as he could get close to the two of them and fire around, Buggy didn't believe that their bodies could withstand the special Buggy bullets. Da da da. Baby Five directly conjured up a Gatling gun and fired directly at the pirates. These pirates were not as strong as the pirates of the Doflamingo family, so it was enough to use machine guns to deal with them. As the machine guns spit out flames, the buggy pirates who were holding swords and guns and preparing to rush towards Lin En and the others were immediately killed and wounded. No one expected that this sweet-looking maid girl would actually pull out such a killer weapon from under her skirt. What kind of devil fruit is this? It can actually turn into all kinds of weapons. Baki was completely stunned. It had been too long since he had seen a power user. Baby Five directly used her power to teach Buggy a lesson. Run. The surviving members of Buggy's pirate group saw that the situation was not good, and they all jumped into the sea. Buggy was soon the only one left on the deck. Buggy also wanted to jump into the sea and escape, but he was a devil fruit power user and he was a landlubber. He wanted to escape, but he had no way to escape. Senryoku Kado Baki. Lin En looked at Buggy dressed as a clown in front of him and asked Buggy. Are you bounty hunters? Baki asked Lin En. No, we are pirates. Tell me, why did you attack us? Lin En asked Buggy. If I say it's a misunderstanding, will you believe it? Baki smiled awkwardly at Lin En. Misunderstanding. Your bombardment just now can be explained by misunderstanding. So, you want to stab me with the back of your hand now, is this also a misunderstanding? Lin En seemed to have eyes behind him, and he stepped on a hand wearing a white glove holding a knife. It hurts, it hurts. Baki jumped in pain. Is this guy also a devil fruit user? Baby Five saw the left hand stepped on by Lin En, and she looked at Buggy's missing left hand again, and she immediately realized this. Her eyes when she looked at Buggy were suddenly wrong. This guy in front of him was too despicable. He was obviously a devil fruit user, but he showed weakness to Lin En, and then attacked Lin En from behind. Baki is a user of the parahuman split fruit. This ability is very powerful if it is developed well. A bone sword appeared in Lin's hand. As if for demonstration, he swung more than a dozen swords at Buggy. When Lin's sword slashed through Buggy's body split. But when Lin's sword left Buggy's body healed instantly. I am a user of the parahuman split fruit. I cannot be killed. Baki is a pirate after all. When he saw that Lin's sword could not hurt him, Buggy felt that he was fine again. Split into pieces clown flying dagger. Baki flew his right hand holding the dagger out. This move of Buggy had the flavor of flying with a sword. His hand holding the dagger could actually turn. A white light flashed on Buggy's right hand, and Buggy's hand was divided into 5 parts. Even so, Buggy's hand could still move, as if Lin's attack had no effect on him at all. My operating space doesn't seem to work on Buggy's split fruit. Lin En saw this scene and suddenly realized the problem. Lin En's operating space can cut and manipulate objects at will, while Buggy's split fruit can freely split and splice his body. Even if Buggy doesn't have the armament hockey to defend against Lin En's cutting has no effect on Buggy. It seems that your fruit ability is very similar to the effect of my split fruit. Baki looked at this scene and laughed even more happily. Since Lin En couldn't kill him, things became interesting. Baki immediately felt that he could kill the 2 little ghosts in front of him. Take a look at my move. Split into pieces fly close to the ground. Baki threw out his 2 arms, and the 2 arms flew towards Lin En like a boomerang. It's not over yet. Shattered into pieces pancake. A knife tip appeared on Buggy's shoes, and he threw his lower body out directly. The 2 little ghosts in front of him were just bluffing with their abilities. It seemed that he could take down the two little ghosts without using buggy bullets. Buggy's upper body floated in the air, and his face showed joy. Shattered into pieces cannon. Buggy's left hand was retracted, and he flew out again with 3 daggers in his hand. Now Buggy's dozen of body parts flew towards Lin together, and the scene was quite spectacular. Buggy's attack only looked powerful, but it would not have much effect on Lin, who had mastered the armament hockey. Lin did not use the armament hockey, he just used the ability of the operating space to play with Buggy. Lin had absolute control over the operating space, and he could sense every move of Buggy's limbs in the operating space. Bucky, since your body has been split, I wonder if I use my power on your arm, will the rest of your body be affected? Lin En's hand released a bright blue light, that was the weak electricity condensed in his body. Rush. When Buggy's arm swung, Lin En's hand directly pressed on Buggy's arm. The next moment, Buggy's limbs began to fly around, and even Buggy's torso, which was only the upper half of his body, fell to the ground. What ability do you have? Why can't I control my body? No, it can't be said that I can't control it, but the control is chaotic. Such a terrible ability, this is definitely not an ordinary devil fruit. Buggy's forehead was covered with cold sweat, and he only felt the horror of Lin En at this time. I seem to have forgotten to introduce myself. My name is Lin En, and I am a superhuman Operation Fruit ability user. Lin En introduced himself to Buggy at this time. Operation Fruit, are you the pirate in the North Sea with a bounty of 90 million Baileys? Buggy finally recognized Lin En's identity, and his face was even worse at this time. This kid has such a skilled fishing technique at such a young age, which is really abominable. If he hung up the pirate flag that could prove his identity, how could he possibly attack him? What are you going to do to me? You can't kill me anyway, so why not, let's make peace. All the gold and silver treasures on my ship belong to you, how about we go our separate ways? Buggy suggested to Lin En. Stupid, I can't kill you now, but the gold and silver treasures on your ship are mine now. You want to buy your life with my money, isn't that inappropriate? Lin En looked at Buggy with a bad look. I still have a treasure map in my hand, which is said to be left by the great gold pirate Wu Nan. We can split it equally if we find it. Buggy proposed another condition. I'm not interested in treasure. Lin En said again. Then what do you say? Anyway, you can't kill me, so we can't keep on being deadlocked like this, right? Buggy also felt a headache. Who said I can't kill you? As long as I sink you into the sea, I don't believe you won't die. Lin En smiled at Buggy. As we all know, people with special abilities cannot swim, and Buggy is not a fishman. If Buggy is thrown into the sea, Lin En doesn't believe that he can survive. Don't worry, I have a way to make you obedient. I won't throw you into the sea. Lin En said to Buggy, who was almost scared silly. Control me. Buggy hadn't asked Lin En how he was going to control him before he saw Lin En's method. Lin En came directly in front of Buggy, raised the bone sword in his hand and stabbed at Buggy's chest. This time, Lin En directly picked out a beating cube, which was Buggy's heart. Although Buggy's split fruit can defend against all slashes, Buggy, who has no armament hockey, can't defend against Lin En's heart-piercing attack. Buggy wanted to stop it, but the parts of his body were crawling on the ground, and he couldn't control his body at all. Lin En snapped his fingers, and Buggy finally took back control of his body. What did you do to my body? Buggy's body was completely restored, but he found that he had lost control of the piece that Lin had taken away. What's more terrible is that the piece that Lin had taken away was actually his heart. I told you, I have a way to make you obedient. Lin held Buggy's hand and squeezed it hard, and Buggy immediately felt a piercing pain. Buggy's split fruit only made Buggy not afraid of slashing, but he would still be injured when facing blunt attacks and other abilities. Germa's judge was more sensible than Buggy. After realizing that his heart had been controlled by Lin, Judge immediately regarded himself as Lin's subordinate and did a very good job. Buggy was different. As a pirate, he yearned for freedom and was unwilling to be controlled by Lin. Lin pinched Buggy's heart 4 or 5 times before making Buggy face the reality. I won't let you control me all the time. Although Buggy's mouth was tough, his body was still very honest. He recruited the crew members who jumped into the sea onto the ship. Buggy didn't say that he was controlled. He just said that he had reached an alliance with Lin En, and Lin En's authority was at the same level as Buggy. Although the pirates didn't know how Buggy became in alliance with Lin En, a strong man, it didn't prevent them from being happy. In order to celebrate the alliance between Lin En and the Buggy Pirates immediately held a banquet. Baki, I'm here. After the banquet, Buggy sneaked into Lin En's room. This was the condition that Buggy agreed to Lin En. He could use the split fruit to cooperate with Lin En to do research, but never in front of the Buggy Pirates. If the crew members of the Buggy Pirates found out that he, the captain, had become someone else's subordinate, would Buggy lose face? Lin En didn't care about it. He just wanted to study Buggy's body structure. Room. The operating space opened, and Lin began to cut open Buggy's belly. But Lin failed. Buggy's whole body seemed to have become the same structure, and Lin's knife could not cut Buggy's body at all. Just like Luffy ate the Nika fruit, his whole body became a soft object like rubber. Buggy's body was the same. The cross-section of Buggy's hands and feet after being cut off was not blood vessels and bones, but a piece of black object. It seemed that Buggy's broken hands and feet were all illusions, and in fact his hands and feet were always connected through some kind of spatial ability. Lin felt that Buggy's ability was very similar to the operating space, and the operating space was also a certain range to achieve the splicing and cutting of objects. In the operating space, Lin could split his body, but although his body would not lose function after being split, he would lose control of his limbs. The operation fruit is not omnipotent after all, and Lin could not do this with the fruit of splitting into pieces. The research was over here, and Lin En let Buggy go back. Lin En began to continue developing the operation fruit. Maybe when facing a slash or other unavoidable attack, I can cut off a part of my body in advance so that I won't get hurt. This was the inspiration that Buggy's split fruit gave to Lin En. Boom! Early the next morning, the ship of the Buggy Pirates suffered a violent vibration. The ship of the Buggy Pirates was attacked by others. Who dares to bombard our Buggy Pirates? The pirates of the Buggy Pirates were in a mess, and they all cursed angrily. The pirates of the Buggy Pirates were disturbed in their dreams early in the morning, and they were very angry. Although Buggy's bounty was not high, Buggy was also considered a big pirate in the East China Sea. There are very few pirates in the East China Sea who can defeat Buggy, especially the Buggy Pirates with Buggy bombs. Didn't they say that the East China Sea is the most peaceful sea area? Why are we attacked again? Baby 5 walked onto the deck with sleepy eyes and said to Lin En. Last night's revelry made Baby 5 feel very comfortable. She didn't even notice when Lin En got up. It must be said that Lin En and his friend's luck didn't seem to be very good. Yesterday they were attacked by the Buggy Pirates, and today they were attacked again on the Buggy Pirates ship. Captain Buggy, it's the Navy that attacked us. The lookout looked at the black shadow that was gradually approaching them, and he exclaimed to Buggy. When did the Navy of the East China Sea become so brave? Baki was shocked. In his impression, the Navy of the East China Sea only patrolled around the naval base, and they almost never attacked pirates. Buggy took the telescope from the subordinate next to him, and he found that it was indeed a Navy ship. The Navy's warships are standard warships, and the appearance of all Navy warships is almost exactly the same. For these Navy, Buggy doesn't care at all. But when he saw the man standing on the Navy deck, he suddenly became uneasy. White Hunter Smoker, how could he appear here? Buggy exclaimed. Smoker is the most famous figure in the East China Sea Navy. Since he began to guard Rogue Town, few Navy can enter the Grand Line through his defense zone. And this guy is also a natural devil fruit ability user. In the East China Sea, where even domineering is rare, his fruit ability is a symbol of invincibility. What happened? Why didn't Smoker guard Rogue Town well, and he actually ran to the sea? Baki, I suspect you are the murderer who assassinated the Celestial Dragons. Surrender immediately, or I will kill you. Smoker's voice came from the ship of Buggy Pirates. The Celestial Dragons cannot die in vain. The world government and the Navy have already started to crack down on crime in the East China Sea. It is obvious that Buggy has been targeted by Smoker. Run! Baki saw that it was Smoker who was chasing him, so he ordered the crew to speed up and flee. Those pirates had also heard of the White Hunter, and they rowed with all their might. Still want to run away. When Smoker saw this, He ordered the Navy warships to fire at the buggy pirates. Boom boom boom. One shell after another exploded around the buggy pirates, and water columns were constantly blown up around the buggy pirates. The Navy warships gradually shortened the distance, and they also entered the shooting range of the buggy pirates, and the buggy pirates also fired at the Navy warships. A large amount of white smoke surged from the Navy warship, and the white smoke was wrapped around the warship like smoke. When the buggy pirates' shells were about to fall on the warship, the white smoke would condense into a fist to knock the shells away. Is this the natural smoke fruit? Lin En saw the white smoke entangled on the warship, and he knew that this was Smoker's ability. Smoker was known as the worst natural ability user, and Lin En felt that it was not an exaggeration. A large cloud of smoke floated out from the Navy warship. It was Smoker who directly used his fruit ability to take off and chase the buggy pirates. The pirates of the buggy pirates used pistols and rifles to shoot at the smoke in the sky, but the smoke was originally invisible, so how could they hurt Smoker? White smoke bomb. Smoker flew to the buggy pirate's ship, and his body turned into a large amount of smoke and poured into the pirate ship. Room. Seeing this, Lin En directly used the surgery fruit to create a spherical space that enveloped him in BABY5. In this spherical space, Smoker's smoke could not invade. Less than 30 seconds after the operation space was used, Buggy, whose eyes were white and he seemed to be about to faint at any time, accidentally broke into the white fog. I don't know if it was luck or coincidence, but Buggy was saved because of this. This place is not affected by the white smoke. Baki took a deep breath of air and finally recovered. Buggy's split fruit can only defend against slashing. Facing Smoker's ability to suffocate him with smoke, Buggy's split fruit can't withstand it. Now, except for him, everyone else in Buggy's pirates was suffocated and unconscious because of the smoke. I didn't expect that there were strong people on the ship of Buggy's pirates besides Buggy. The smoke covering Buggy's pirates turned into Smoker again. Smoker took out 2 cigars from his clothes and lit them. He took a deep breath of smoke and walked into Lin's operation space. Are you Lin, the Lin whose first bounty was 90 million berries? Smoker's professionalism is much higher than Buggy's. He recognized Lin the first time he saw her. Smoker could feel that Lin was much stronger than Buggy. You actually know me. Lin's eyes flashed with surprise. He has been in the East China Sea for so long, and Smoker is the first person who recognized him at first sight. It has been a long time since pirates destroyed the naval base. I have seen the news, so I have a deep impression of you. Smoker pulled out the 10 hands inlaid with seastone, and said to Lin. Originally, he thought he could only catch Buggy with a bounty of 15 million berries, but he didn't expect that Buggy's ship actually had a big fish like Lin. At this point, Smoker's cigar was half burned. Smoker took a deep breath, and all the smoke from the burning cigar was inhaled into his body. The battle started. White fist. Smoker's arm turned into smoke, and his fist hit Lin's face at a very fast speed. Although the speed of this attack was very fast, Smoker's fist had no place to hide under Lin's operating space and observation hockey. Lin just took a half step back to avoid Smoker's attack. The next moment, Smoker's fist circled back, and Lin easily dodged it again. What's going on? He seems to be able to easily see through my attack trajectory. Smoker was shocked when he saw this scene. White vine. Smoker immediately changed his moves, and he was ready to use his smoke fruit to turn into a rope to tie up Lin. The smoke surrounded Lin, and he didn't seem to notice it. Smoker's eyes flashed, and the white mist shrank instantly. Before the white mist could bind Lin En disappeared in front of him. Your ability doesn't seem to work on me. Lin En's voice sounded behind Smoker. Smoker felt his scalp tingling, and he decisively used the yuan the transformation made him leave there. But until he condensed his body again, Lin En did not attack him again. Why do I feel that Smoker is suppressed by Lin En? Baki looked at the 2 people who were confronting each other again, and he had a deeper understanding of Lin En's strength. Lin En did not make a move from beginning to end, but it gave Buggy the feeling that Lin En had always been in control of the situation. Lin En's strength is very strong. Baby 5 was not at all surprised by the situation in front of him. Lin En could force the Doflamingo pirates to enter the Grand Line, and this little Navy colonel in front of him. Smoker did not continue to use the ability of the smoke fruit this time. He changed his tactics and raised his 10 hands to hit Lin En. The top of the 10 hands was inlaid with sea stone. As long as he could hit Lin En's body, Lin En would be defeated. The fruit that Lin En ate was the operation fruit, but from the situation just now, Smoker did not feel that Lin En's ability had anything to do with surgery. Since the ability is not clear, Smoker will not compete with Lin En in ability, he wants to compete with Lin En in physical skills. If Smoker remembers correctly, Lin En is not yet 15 years old. This time, the advantage is mine. Smoker came from Zephyr's boot camp after all, and his physical skills are not comparable to those of Lin En, who has not even set foot on the Grand Line. With great confidence, Smoker rushed towards Lin En. A bone sword appeared in Lin En's hand. When Smoker's 10 hands wanted to hit Lin En's head, Lin En swung the bone sword in his hand. Ding! A white light flashed from the sea stone 10 hands, and the steel 10 hands were broken. The crisp sound just now was the sound of the upper half of the sea stone 10 hands falling on the deck. This time, Lin En did not use the ability of the surgical space. He used his sword skills to cut off Smoker's 10 hands. When Smoker's 10 hands smashed towards Lin En sensed the breath of the 10 hands and saw the weakness of the 10 hands. You are actually a swordsman. Smoker looked at the half 10 hands on the ground, and his voice was a little unbelievable. Smoker is not as good as others in Devil Fruit, and now his physical skills are also inferior to Lin En, so he feels very embarrassed. Smoker is already 24 years old, and his physical strength is at its peak. But Lin En is far from reaching his peak. However, Smoker, who has experienced the peak training of the Navy, was suppressed by Lin En when they fought just now, and all his 10 hands were broken. Do you want to continue, Smoker? Lin En asked Smoker. Of course I have to continue. I haven't caught you to the city yet. Smoker began to mark time, and the next moment he disappeared directly in front of Lin En. This is not his fruit ability, this is shave, among the 6 styles of the Navy. As a student of Zephyr, Smoker would use the 6 styles of the Navy, which was also expected by Lin En. Shaving is to use explosive power to make oneself disappear in front of the enemy, but Lin En's surgery fruit can really teleport. Swish! Smoker's figure kept appearing on the deck, but no matter how he used the razor, he could not find Lin's figure. And every time Lin appeared, he was behind Smoker. Colonel Smoker, he's behind you. He's still behind you, Colonel Smoker. Colonel Smoker, be careful, you haven't gotten rid of him yet, he's still behind you. At this time, the Navy warship had approached the ship of the buggy pirates, and the Navy kept warning Smoker. Smoker had never been suppressed like this, not even the Navy recruits of his time. After coming to the East Sea Raj town, the pirates here were weaker, and Smoker didn't feel that way anymore. But today, Lin made Smoker feel a sweat. You are so noisy. Listening to the voices from the Navy on the Navy warship, Baby Five's palm turned into a rocket launcher, and she fired directly at the Navy on the opposite side. Fire suddenly ignited on the Navy ship, and the Navy on those ships began to panic. Some Navy even climbed here. Baby Five's hands turned into 2 revolvers, and she started firing at the Navy. This was a battle between Lin En and Smoker, and she would not let these Navy interfere. Seeing that he could not get rid of Lin En, Smoker used the ability of the smoke fruit to fly straight into the sky. Any fruit ability should have an attack range, and Smoker did not believe that Lin En's ability had no limit. Did you just react? Lin En looked at Smoker's actions, and he was a little disappointed. I don't know if Smoker was born like this, or if he played in the low-end game in the East China Sea for too long, and his combat awareness was weak. Your method is correct, but you overlooked one point. I'm faster than you, you can't fly out of my attack range. Lin's voice kept ringing behind Smoker. Even though Smoker had already started to spin and fly, he still didn't see where Lin was. The next moment, Smoker felt a pain in his stomach, and his eyes suddenly became bloodshot. Smoker's upward flying figure froze, and in front of him, Lin's fist had hit his stomach. The pain Smoker felt just now came from Lin's punch. Smoker never thought that he, a natural ability user, would be hit in the body. Armament hockey. I didn't expect you to be able to use armament hockey. Smoker looked down and saw the black film on Lin's fist, and he instantly understood everything. Only armament hockey can capture the elemental natural system. It is obvious that Lin used armament hockey. But armament hockey, even he doesn't know it now. How did Lin learn it? Before Smoker could ask this question, Lin En's fist exerted force again, and Smoker's body smashed through the deck and fell into the cabin. A moment later, Smoker staggered onto the deck. He held his stomach tightly with one hand, and there was still blood oozing out of his mouth that he hadn't wiped off. He no longer had the high spirits he had when he first boarded the ship. Originally, Smoker thought he could catch 2 big fish, but he didn't expect Lin En to be so difficult. "Smoker, you are not my opponent, there is no need to fight anymore, right?" Lin En looked at Smoker and asked Smoker. "I was careless just now, I still have a trick that I haven't used yet." Smoker took a few hard breaths, and then he lit the only remaining cigar again. "Just now I didn't release the iron block. If I released the iron block, you would never be able to break my defense." Smoker's iron blockade was so confident that he didn't notice that Lin's expression had become strange. "Smoker, the iron block is harmful." Lin looked at Smoker and persuaded him earnestly. "The iron block makes the user's body as hard as steel, but when he stands and uses the iron block to receive the enemy's attack, it means that the enemy's attack power is stronger than him." How many iron block practitioners in the pirate world have mysterious confidence in iron blocks, and then they are defeated by iron blocks? But Smoker didn't believe it. Before he was backstabbed by the iron block, he didn't understand what Lin said at all. Smoker couldn't move anymore, he was waiting for Lin's fist. For Smoker's request, Lin could only agree. Lin's left fist hit Smoker's abdomen directly, and Smoker's body flew backwards towards the direction of the Navy warship like a shrimp. Crack! The thick main mast of the Navy warship was broken in half by Smoker's body. "Colonel Smoker." The Navy saw this and they all exclaimed. Lin En retracted his gaze. He didn't know whether Smoker died under this punch. This was not important to Lin En at all. If Smoker died, it only meant that he was not strong enough. Still not leaving, waiting to continue fighting with the Navy. Lin En saw that the pirates of the buggy pirates had woken up. They were staring blankly at the chaotic Navy warships, so Lin En asked the pirates. Hearing Lin En's words, the pirates reacted, and the big ship of the buggy pirates began to move away from here. "Master Lin En, where are you going?" The pirates of the buggy pirates asked Lin En carefully. They had already ignored their captain Buggy. "We are going to Windmill Village," Baby 5 said to the pirates. "What, you are going to Windmill Village?" Quote, on the ship of Buggy's pirate group, Buggy was torn apart when he heard Lin's destination. It was as if there was some terrifying sea king in Windmill Village. Although there are no terrifying sea kings in Windmill Village, there is the person that Buggy least wants to see in Windmill Village, and that person is now in Windmill Village. It was that man who ruined Buggy's dream of finding underwater treasures, and Buggy now hates that man. That's Windmill Village. On the ship of Buggy's pirate group, Buggy pointed his finger at a black spot in the distance, and he said he would not move forward no matter what. Lin En did not force it, and Baby 5 transformed into a speedboat, and Lin En rode Baby 5 directly to Windmill Village. Lin En remembered that there was a sea king living under the sea, which blocked the dreams of many young people in Windmill Village to go to sea. Lin En was on guard against the king of the sea all the way, but until Baby 5 drove to the beach, Lin En did not see the king of the sea. At the port of Windmill Village, the huge three-masted ship flying the flag of the Red Hair Pirates was particularly conspicuous among the small fishing boats. Although the Red Hair Pirates have not yet become the newest pirate emperor in the New World, they are the most likely competitors. Even Baby 5 has heard of the Red Hair Pirates, which is the strongest pirate group that Lin En has ever seen. Lin En appeared in the East China Sea, and Smoker has been seriously injured by Lin En and fell into a coma. When Lin En arrived at Windmill Village, the Marine Headquarters Marineford was blown up by this news. Smoker is the strongest in the Navy in the East China Sea, and he is also the only natural devil fruit ability user in the new generation of the Navy. Smoker's rank is Colonel, but this does not mean that Smoker's strength is only at the Colonel level. Smoker is both a natural ability user and a student of Zephyr, so his future can be said to be bright. It's just that Smoker's character is too unruly, and he can even be said to be a famous problem Navy. In order to hone his character, the Navy headquarters will put him in the East China Sea. With his strength, he can be said to be killing people indiscriminately in the East China Sea. Smoker is also loyal to his duties in the East China Sea. In recent years, few East China Sea pirates have entered the Grand Line. I have said long ago that I should go for this operation. If it were me, I would have wiped out all the pirate groups except the Red Hair Pirates. Sakazuki snorted at Sengoku. After learning that the celestial dragons were attacked in the East China Sea and not knowing who the murderer was, Sakazuki suggested that all the people with armor in the East China Sea be killed. This also includes Lin, who was the first person to use the weapon fruit to transform into armor. He is the source of the current flood of armor on the sea. In addition to these people with armor, the pirates were also killed. It is better to kill the wrong person than to let him go. This is Sakazuki's attitude. In Sakazuki's view, only in this way can the celestial dragons be satisfied and will not be disappointed with the navy. But Garp said he was unwilling to let Sakazuki go to the East China Sea. Red-haired Shanks is now in the East China Sea windmill village. With Sakazuki's character, he would not care about the civilians there. There are 2 grandsons of Garp there. How could he tolerate Sakazuki's mess? So Garp took over the mission directly. He left Marihoa with 10 warships. Vegapunk has invented the technology of embedding seastone on the bottom of warships, and naval warships can directly cross the doldrums and enter the East China Sea. This way is much faster than crossing the upside-down mountain. But until today, the Navy headquarters has not received the news that Garp's fleet has arrived in the East China Sea. Lin En can actually defeat Smoker. His growth rate is too fast. Sengoku recalled Lin En's intelligence. Lin En first appeared a year ago. At that time, he was just an ability user. Now only a year has passed. Lin En has not only mastered advanced swordsmanship, but also mastered armament hockey and observation hockey. Although Smoker's combat report did not mention that Lin En could use observation hockey, Sengoku could infer this from the report. Lin En's growth rate was too fast. Even the pirate emperors who ruled the New World were probably the same when they were Lin En's age. Those pirate emperors had already given the navy a headache. No new pirate emperors could be born among the pirates. In fact, the most suitable person to carry out this mission is Borsellino. Unfortunately, he happened to be at the critical period of capturing Tiger and the Fishman pirates. Looking at the extremely angry Sakazuki, Vice Admiral Suru sighed. 4 years ago, the Fishman Tiger climbed up to Marihoa with his bare hands and released the slaves in Marihoa, and also set Marihoa on fire. This was the first time that the authority of the Celestial Dragons was challenged. The Celestial Dragons were very angry, so the 5 elders personally ordered let Borsellino take charge of this matter. Borsellino is a natural flash fruit user, and he is the fastest man on the sea. According to the calculations of the 5 elders, Borsellino can capture Tiger in a month at most. But the 5 elders underestimated Borsellino's ability to slack off. He has been carrying out this operation for 4 years, and now Tiger is still stirring up trouble on the sea. Tiger is not fighting alone now, but has established a Fishman pirate group, the Sun Pirates, galloping on the sea. The sea is the home of the Fishmen. Whenever Borsellino forces Tiger into a desperate situation, the Fishman pirates will dive into the deep sea and escape. It is said that this time Borsellino has mastered the specific whereabouts of the Sun Pirates, and this time he can kill Tiger. If Borsellino carries out this mission in the East China Sea, with his ambiguous and just way of doing things, most of the pirates in the East China Sea will be caught. As for enemies like the Red Hair Pirates that are too difficult, he would only drive them to the Grand Line, so as not to cause too much damage to the East China Sea. This would not only give an explanation to the Celestial Dragons, but also would not cause too much damage to the East China Sea. Kuzan is responsible for guarding the combat power of Marihoa, which is the requirement put forward by the 5 elders after the attack on Marihoa. Marihoa must be guarded by Admiral-level combat power, and Kuzan cannot leave Marihoa in a short time. I have contacted Vice Admiral Garp, and now Vice Admiral Garp has arrived in Rogue Town. A naval staff officer walked in excitedly and reported to the senior naval officers. Finally, there is news about Garp. Tell Garp that this operation takes Lin as the first target and the Red Hair Pirates as the second target. Sengoku ordered the messenger, and he asked the messenger to tell Garp about this matter in the form of a written order without missing a word. Sengoku has always felt that Lin En's threat is no weaker than that of the Red Hair Pirates, and he wants to kill him now before Lin En grows up. If another year passes, a pirate group more terrifying than the Red Hair Pirates may appear on the sea. Lin En had no idea that defeating a colonel of the Rogue Town branch would cause such a shock to the Navy headquarters. Lin En had already arrived at the door of Machino's tavern. Windmill Village was not big, and there was only one tavern here, so Lin En would not go wrong at all. It seems that a very interesting person has come. When Lin En stood outside the tavern, Shanks smiled. Shanks did not expect to see someone who had awakened the armament hockey and observation hockey in the East China Sea, and this person was still a teenager. When Lin En pushed the door and entered the tavern, all the pirates of the Red Hair Pirates looked here. Lin En, a pirate star with a bounty of 90 million Baileys for the first time, and suspected to be the founder of the armor that has been popular in the sea recently. For someone like you, why would you come to the East China Sea if you don't go to the Grand Line to compete? When Lin En appeared, Ben Beckman asked Lin En. Ben Beckman is the most intelligent person in this sea, and he has all the information about pirates in his head. Even though Lin's bounty was not touched when he was listed, Ben Beckman told all the information about Lin the first time he saw him. What Beckman said was much more detailed than what the world government recorded. Why did I come to the East Sea? Of course, it's because I want to come. Lin answered as a matter of course. Well said. This is the freedom of pirates. Come on, let's toast to what Brother Lin said. Shanks pushed a glass of wine in front of Lin, and the Red Hair Pirates burst into warm laughter. Hey, little Luffy, you are not old enough to drink now. Shanks pressed a hand under the counter, and Lin followed the 2-meter-long arm to see Luffy hiding in the corner. Luffy has now eaten the Nika fruit, and his body can be stretched at will, just like an endless rubber. Why, I'm also a sea warrior, I can drink too. Luffy pointed at the scar on his face and shouted to Shanks. Come, drink juice. Baby 5 handed her juice to Luffy. Ah, it's delicious, thank you. Luffy took a sip and smiled at Baby 5 to thank her. See, you still like to drink juice, you're really a brat. Shanks slapped the table and laughed so hard that tears came out. Other pirates were also trying to enlighten Luffy and make him happier. Lin, it seems that this Red Hair Pirates is very different from the Doflamingo Pirates. Baby 5 gently poked Lin and whispered to her. In Baby 5's opinion, this was like a group of happy people, and they were different from the pirates she had seen before. Of course, the Red Hair Pirates should be the freest pirate group on this sea. Lin smiled at Baby 5. For freedom, cheers. Lin was not polite, he directly picked up the glass handed by Shanks and drank it all. Lin's actions won their favor, and the whole bar was filled with a happy atmosphere. Lin, what are you doing in Windmill Village? Are you here to join our Red Hair Pirates? After a round of drinks, Ben Beckman asked Lin about the purpose of coming here. They have been in Windmill Village for a long time, and the newspapers have also reported it. Beckman doesn't believe that Lin met them by accident. Of course not, I just want to see how strong the pirate group that can reach the top of the New World Pirate Emperor is. I will also form a pirate group stronger than you, I don't need to join you. Lin said to Beckman, you are so brave, just for your courage, if you want to join our pirate group, maybe Shanks will let you become an intern of our pirate group. Yesub was very pleased to hear what Lin En said. He laughed and patted Lin En's shoulder and said to him, it's unfair, Lin En is only a few years older than me. Why can he go to sea with you? Luffy protested loudly when he heard what Jesus En said. If you have half of Lin En's strength, I will let you go to sea with us. Shanks smiled at Luffy. Lin En knew that his strength had been seen through by Shanks and others. These people came back from the New World, and each of them has a great reputation in the New World. The Red Hair Pirates are an elite pirate group. There are not many people in their pirate group, but each of them is a real strong man. Although Lin En didn't know how strong the Red Hair Pirates were, but he could feel that each of these members was very strong. Luffy snorted heavily, and then he sulked while holding his glass of juice. Bang! A loud noise attracted everyone's attention, and the door of the tavern was kicked open. Excuse me, are you pirates? One by one, with a stupid look on your face. A bearded man looked around the tavern and scolded everyone directly. At this moment, the the warm atmosphere was destroyed, the red hair pirates stopped their actions, and everyone was looking at this man. Here we are, the bandit king Sig. Lin En didn't expect that he came so coincidentally and actually saw this famous scene. We are not here to make trouble, serve us wine. Sig said to the proprietress in front of the wine cabinet. Sorry, the wine is just sold out. Makino looked at the guests in front of her, and she said apologetically. Oh, pirates drink wine, but we bandits don't. Do I understand that you look down on us bandits? Sig asked Machino. I'm so sorry, we seem to have finished the wine in the tavern. If you don't mind, I have another bottle here. Shanks handed the unopened bottle of wine in his hand to the man in front of him. But Sig didn't appreciate it at all, he directly smashed the bottle in Shanks' hand with a punch. I say, do you know who you are talking to? This glass of wine is not enough for us to rinse our mouths. Sig rejected Shanks' friendship and gave Shanks a heavy blow. Look clearly, I am Sig with a bounty of 8 million Baileys. I have killed 56 pirates like you. Sig held up the wanted poster in his hand and showed off to the red hair pirates. Here it comes, Sig's famous scene. Lin was shocked. Among the pirates present, the leader of Baby 5, who has the lowest bounty, has a higher bounty than Sig, not to mention the red hair pirates who came back from the New World. This is the most glorious moment in Sig's life. Maybe even Sig doesn't know how brave he is. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.